Good evening, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rashmita. You all know I'm the event manager and the program manager at Reactor, Bengaluru, India. But before we start today's session, let me just read out the code of conduct quickly. You all know it. So please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. With this, I would like to hand over to Vivek to begin the session. Over to you, Vivek.
Yeah, Rashmita, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And I have a packed agenda today, and I have amazing speakers joining me today. One after the other, they'll be coming in and talking about different technologies, specifically for low code and no code. And I'll just read out a couple of things, some of the agenda which we have. Okay, so I have Dinesh first up, who is going to help us understand about low code programming language, open source programming language, which is PowerFX, and we will have Vivek Raja, who is going to teach us about AI builders, specifically from a business use case. I see him doing a couple of things, couple of tests related to um, on Twitter. He was doing a couple of tests. So the other day, I'm very interested to see that specific use case. And Vishwas is going to, help us through with ML platform, low code, no code, understanding this platform, and how to use it for ML. And I will have Ashibad at the end, who's going to help us understand how to build a coupon service. This is not the coupon service which we were building in samosachai.net show, but this is a service, from a, like, how do you send out a coupon when after the session like this in a meetup, how do you send a coupon to someone to get the swags and other things. So he'll build it and show us how to do it with Azure Logic Apps, and builds with through a couple of workflows. Even before I go there, a couple of things which I just wanted to discuss before I step into, with one after the other amazing speakers who are going to come and talk about the Power Platform, is specifically about uh, what is the challenge we are facing, right? So from a from a development perspective, right? So if you see here, we we have a demand to build 5x more mobile apps, and this is a global challenge which we are talking about. And there is there will be 500 million new apps which will be built in next 5 years, and there is a requirement and don't know shortfall of 4 million developers. So what I mean here is the global shortage of full-time developers will increase from 1.4 million in 2021 to 4 million in 2025. So that's a huge shortfall, right? And so what I'm trying to tell is there's a requirement for everyone to be a developer, and that's what it means. And why everyone? Because in an organization we have admins, IT admins who don't go code every day, who are different set of peoples who work in technology field, but they don't code every day, right? And they don't have hands-on experience on coding. And that's, you can, use such talent in your organization to build apps, to do digitalization, to go and build something in your enterprise using developers who are not developers from a coding perspective, but they are developers who knows about technology. So they will be using these platforms to build it. So the analogy was, here is, so basically what previous to these developer platforms, what we had was teach everyone to code, and we wanted everyone to code, and which is coding is hard. We already know that, building something from a coding perspective, building algorithms and other things, it's hard. Not everyone can code. So wanted to convert that and build some platforms where we can use these capabilities to build future products, future mobile apps and other things. So that's when uh, you know the that's when these platforms came in, and it is changing everything, right? It is basically making everyone a developer. Anyone can develop, and just use little bit of code, just use connectors, use couple of data connectors and other things, and we can build mobile apps, web apps and other things which is readily usable, right? So that's what these platforms do. And Microsoft Power Platform has a couple of options for you, that is Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents. We will go through a couple of these things with amazing set of community leaders who work on these things day in day out. That's what we're going to do in this coming next sessions. Before we go there, I just want to introduce what these each of these tools do. Power Apps, basically a low code approach to building apps. It's basically, you can see this in the video as well, where we can build an Android app, a web app, or an iOS app just by drag and drop, and adding couple of code or couple of connectors, adding your data there, and you have a lot of templates to build it as well. So you can see there is mobile app already been built in within just drag and drop option. So that is where the power of low code comes in. And then you can see Power BI, which is using the data and AI approach for this. And you can see this from the slide as well. So no, specifically, you can build. You can build insights, you can build dashboards from different data sources, and make use of this particular dashboard for building a lot of insights onto your application, and also see where how to make business decisions by using this. And it's pretty easy to build it. It's just drag and drop and connecting to data sources, and just click off a few buttons. And all this approach has a backend of Azure cognitive services. You can use AI to build and make it more robust, and have AI added to this as well. So, Power Virtual Agent. So basically, this is nothing but a chatbot. You can build a chatbot. You can use AI-driven chatbots at the back end as well, and you can easily build conversational apps just by drag and drops, by adding couple of steps. You can see here, you can just add it through connectors and other things, and if loops and other things, we can add it directly there, and you can just build a chatbot. And Power Automate provides automation, and we will see that as well from a workflow perspective in the demo. And it's pretty easy to just go and create an automation here. So NetNet, you have couple of tools and services here, where you can just use it through UI, add through drag and drop, and you have an app built. So it's a boon to startups, right? If you are building an MVP, if you're building something new, you just take these services, add through uh, you know just add through chatbots, and just add through the drag and drops, and you have these applications up and running. So that's what these things do. And basically what we are doing is empowering everyone there, right? So it could be an IT admin, or a pro developer, or a business user. Anyone can go and build apps just using these tools, and get your MVPs out, and then you can have developers come in and build it for you, or you can use it just with these platforms, developer platforms. We will have introduction to all of these when we have experts coming here and talking about it. And just that, and just like how I am learning all of these things, there is 16 good modules which I discovered while I'm learning these things. And I have put all these 16 modules into one cloud skill challenge. It's one specific challenge for you to go back and learn all this stuff. And it's basically cloud skill challenge is all about challenging yourself to learn all of this, and also complete those learn modules for your benefit. And also you'll understand how to build all of these things from a different aspects like Power Platform, Power Apps, and also how to use it with how to build a chatbot, and everything has been covered in that cloud skill challenge. So you just need to take this particular link, which is aka.ms Reactor Days India, and you will be able to get started with the cloud skill challenge. And you have uh, devrel repo, which is, it's basically a dev repo which I'm talking about. It's basically all the latest with respect to, not just with respect to low code no code development, but from a content perspective, you can also find content for cloud native, Kubernetes, and other things here. So that's what um, you can find in dev repo. So you can just go to aka.ms and dev repo, and you'll be able to reach the reach this particular GitHub repo with all the latest content built into it. So given this, so what I would want to do is I want to make sure I have Dinesh come up here. And I did briefly talk about low code no code platform, right? So it's basically, low code is you have UIs and the other things where you go and drag and drop, and you need to add a couple of code and other things, but definitely you will add a little bit of coding when you do low code. And there is no code platform as well, where you don't need to do anything. It's just drag and drops, and then you have platform up and running. So these are two different things. And I just want to bring up Dinesh here, who is an MVP, and to to introduce low code no code, and tell us the difference between low code no code and when to use low code no code, right? So that's something which is there. And I'll just invite Dinesh. Let me bring up Dinesh. Hey Dinesh.
Hi Vivek, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. That's nice.
So just to introduce you, for the audience, Dinesh is 9+ years in data and cloud, and he's working as a product manager at Kissflow, right? And he's very passionate about data platform and low code no code platform, and he keeps working on it. He keeps writing about it in the blog, and he keeps you would see him talking about these things day in and day out in a lot of communities. So Dinesh, just to start with the discussion, I just wanted to understand uh, when to use low code no code, and what is your take on the difference between these two things?
Shall we? So, when to use no code, low code? It's actually in the hands of the creator's call, right? The app creator, basically. The app creator, as we see now, based on the stats you showed, there are millions of apps that are need to be created, but the developers are in pitch shortfall of it, right? So there are product managers, even business analysts, product analysts, some CEOs, different people are there. People who are little bit interested in coding or scripting, maybe we may not need to use the word coding, but who are interested in scripting, they just try with the low code based applications, basically. And of course, those who doesn't know any code, they'll just try with some no code tools. So if we even if we take the Power Apps itself, using Power Apps, a no code developer also can create some app, and a low code developer also can create some apps, right? So along with these terminologies, a new kind of role is emerging, which is nothing but citizen developers, right? So citizen developers are nothing but they are not actual developers who do sit and open up Visual Studio and write some C Sharp script, package it, and deploy it as exe and all those things. They are not something like that. They have the full business knowledge, and they know how to convert it into an application, right? So earlier, they need to depend on the developer or the technical team. See, this is my requirement, could you please change it? See, this is what my client is asking, could you please change it? Like this, there will be a big barrier in between. But what happened now is, the product manager or the respective people who are nothing but citizen developers, they're able to create a kind of MVP kind of app, and even people to use those kind of apps for a longer time as well. So to simply say with a very common example, we can take the car, right? Most of us, we have car, and we know that there are two major categories of a car: cars that have gears and cars that doesn't have gears, right? Automated cars, gear automated car. So some people do like gear based cars, right? Yeah, I need that rapport of driving. I need to change the gear on in the highways while I am driving. I need to have the customization. I need to set up the gear on myself and have a driving experience kind of thing. Those people, even if you give a Benz car without gear, they'll opt for a gear car, right? So that's one set of people, and there is another set of people. See, I just need to drive from one place to another place, and I don't mind whether it is a gear car or non-gear car. Similarly, some people would think that, okay, in cities, I don't want to go into trouble of changing gears frequently. I'm fine with the non-gear car, right? So it becomes the decision of the creator or the user, and based on the situations, right? This determines when to use low code and when to use no code. And another important point is, it depends on the time aspect as well. If you have lesser time, uh, and you need to deploy it quickly with a decent MVP, right? Which stakeholders are agreeing that, okay, it can change, but I need something to see or something to try out as soon as possible. Then definitely such low code and no code tools will be helpful. Not in a kind of the waterfall model, from requirement discussion and then wireframe and then development and then deployment kind of thing. So all these factors matter, Vivek. And even
Yes.
I was explaining to a school friend, like a friend's brother. uh, I was simply saying that, asking him that, okay, from your home to the school, what is the distance? He told that it is 3 kilometers. Okay, if you are going by walk, what is the advantage? Yeah, I can, if I go by walk, I can, that becomes a physical exercise for me, that is very good for me, and all those things. Then why are you not going by walk? I asked him. He used to go by his father, with the help of his father. He told that, oh, I don't have time, I should get to school on time, right? Also, I will get tired, right? So that's a simple example, right? It is possible to develop thing in a full code, but based on the situation, currently we have the technology to build something faster using low code and no code. Yeah.
True. I mean, it's basically, as a, as a non-developer, um, as I told in the couple of slides as well. Um, I think something happened to my network. It's coming back.
Yeah.
Just a second. Sorry, there is some issue with my network.
It happens.
And my, I hope this is coming back. That's okay. So basically, what I was telling is, from a, from a non-developer perspective, right? So what happens is, if you have, if as an IT admin, you don't code every day. It's basically, you just take care of a couple of things. So you could just go back and you enable, you just see these platforms, and you can just click off button, drag and drop something, and add a couple of code, which you also can code, little bit of coding you can do, and then you can build apps for yourself and convert your, paperwork which you are doing into a digital format. and that's the power of using these platforms, which is there. So that's what I would just say. And Dinesh, so just want to get started with your session as well. So I just want to understand the power effects and how to get started with the programming language which we have, open source programming language. So would you want to share your screen and share that?
Yeah,
I'll just put
I'll
your screen there.
sure. Yeah, and I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, as Vivek told in the agenda, I'm going to have my first talk, and it's about the Microsoft PowerFX, and I think Vivek already have given enough introduction about me, so I'll directly jump into my topic, which is nothing but Microsoft PowerFX. So when Microsoft has introduced this Microsoft PowerFX in language, few people just thought that, oh, is it something a new language like F sharp or C sharp, which has been introduced in different time periods, right? But basically, it's not a new programming language or a new formula language. It is the actual language which has been used in the Power Apps to do the expression kind of works. For example, to do some basic calculations, to do some basic logical conditions, and all those things. Already, a language has been used within the Canvas apps of Power Apps, and what Microsoft has did is they just extracted it, cleaned it up, and set it up as a new kind of the language, and they exposed and released it as Microsoft PowerFX. Right. So it was actually introduced a bit time back, but recently, like 3-4 months ago, a quarter ago, this Microsoft PowerFX was introduced as is published as open source, right? So I'll talk a bit more about open source when it comes to the subsequent slides, but basically we can just take that Microsoft PowerFX is a new addition to the Power Platform family, right? So, and also, Microsoft can proudly say that after C Sharp for backend developers, TypeScript for front-end developers, PowerFX is nothing but a new low-code formula language for low-code developers, right? As you all know, the low-code is future. PowerFX has a very, very big potential and to grow ahead, right? I'll show you how it grow, how we can make it grow, and all those things. So I'll simply have my agenda in this 4 different questions, because this is what we'll be thinking, right, while we are learning a new thing, right? What it is, why it takes importance, and why should I know that, and who uses that, and where it is being used, right? I just split up my agenda as these 4 categories, so that it will be more easy for you to get connected, because you'll be able to find the actual resource, what is PowerFX and all those things in the internet. But I'll just talk in an industry person language, why PowerFX plays an important role, and why you should actually learn PowerFX, right? What benefits you. I'll talk in that perspective. So what is PowerFX? It's all about the same language which has been used inside the Canvas apps of Power Apps, the formula language basically, which has been expanded a little bit more and packaged as a separate kind of library, right? And of course, it is open source, which means this particular language can be used anywhere and anyone can even contribute to. What I mean by using it anywhere is you can use the same formula language even in your commercial product, right? I'll explain it a bit more when it comes to the next slide, right? But I think most of you know the advantage when something goes open source, right? For example, even as a quick example, I can say that Apache Spark is a big data software which was actually created by a company called Databricks, right? And they open sourced it, right? They would have kept it as a proprietary version with themselves, but they open sourced it and made it as a public license, publicly available, where anyone can use it and resell it for their commercial purpose. And that's where many products many commercial products around Apache Spark has come in, including Azure Databricks, right? Databricks is the one who created Spark. And what Microsoft has did is took out the open source package. They did some add-on functions so that Apache Spark can easily glue with the Azure Data Platform's products in for big data solutions, and they've rebranded it as Azure Databricks, right? So automatically Azure Databricks grows the same way Apache Spark also will grow. That's the same analogy why they have made Powerapps as open source. And when it comes to the language, right? In my perspective, programming language, expression language, these are all a bit of hard words, I mean, right? Because whenever we say some programming language or expression kind of words, automatically our mind will tend to fix like, oh, it might be difficult to learn. What if I may not be able to learn and use it frequently? How can I spend time? And all those kind of questions arises. So what I recommend is Powerapps is just a simple formula language. Just be with it. We would have learned some simple formulas in our schools and colleges, right? Not complex formulas, very simple formulas, right? Like that, you can imagine that this is very simple formula that helps my business ideas to get implemented as logics, and that gets implemented into the apps as a working software kind of thing, right? So to tell in another way, just think Excel, right? In Microsoft Excel, which will be already having a tabular form of data, and while you want to add a column 1 and column 2, what you'll do, it's all about that C4 equal to A1 plus A2. That's it, right? Like this, most of the formulas, the syntaxes, the functions which Excel has, the same way Powerfx has been created, right? So that those who have already used Excel, um, they'll not have any learning curve at all. That's what I mean. So it's simple that they were using it in Excel. Now they are going to use it in Power Apps. That's all. That much simplified it will be. And also it will be it will be kind of real time, which whatever you type in the formula, the changes will be immediately reflected in your application as well, right? It is not that you change some formula, build it, compile it, run it, only then you will be seeing, right? Like a typical programming language. Not like that. Whatever you do it immediately, you will be saying in the in your app itself. You can connect it while I show you the demo. And of course, what I mean about imperative is the final point. Imperative is, it's using this Power Apps, you can raise a command or make a request as well, right? That's the power. It's not just the LHS and RHS part. For the left hand side, it could be a text box, writing some formulas to append some names or add some values, and that sits in the LHS part. It is not just. You can even make it as a commanding language or raise some requests via the button clicks, right? So why you should learn a Powerfx, or why Powerfx has emerged, right? Let me tell with some examples. So those who have used Power Apps, I hope you know that there are certain widgets like text box, image, and the number box, attachments. Like that, there are set of widgets already there, right? What real case is, it is not practical that Microsoft will be able to provide, or Power Apps will be able to provide whatever the requirement as a widget, right? Let me tell examples. I hope you all know about the lookup field, right? That lookup field is, as it names, it will look up data from some other screen or some other database or some other sheet, right? That's what the lookup means. This particular lookup feature, it's not that so generic. It's kind of unique thing that would be required for each business use case, right? Similarly, the search thing. If you just search the app name in your Play Store, it will show the list of suggested apps that match with the search thing, right? So such things are very unique based on the business use case. That's why these kind of use cases you can prepare with the help of Powerapps over the existing widgets, right? Instead of expecting it to be available as a widget again. If there are more number of widgets, again it will be more complex for the no code and low code users to pick which one to what. And second thing is, as I told earlier, it is a functional language. Like as a person, between two persons, how they talk. See, add two persons, or what is the top 5 sales regions in the last quarter. If as a CEO I'm asking to a data analyst, he'll be just replying, right? The formulas also will be kind of this function based, right? Top in the braces of 10, which means top 10 products of that particular data source. Like this, it will be very functional based and it will be easy to understand as well. And third, you'll be able to add business conditional statements, for example, if conditions and switch conditions kind of thing. I hope you all have used such kind of thing. Let me tell a simple example. In your data set, you might have the date of joining date of each employee, right? And for a particular use case or a particular requirement, you might need to create a new column which says that the number of years experienced, right? In that case, you need to write a formula that finds the difference between current date and the joining date, and it will be providing you the some kind of number of days, right? And it has to be divided by 365, and that particular value should be converted as whole number, right? Not as 1.45 or something. If it is 1.2, then it is 1 year experience. If it is 2.9, then it is 3 years experience. Like this, you need some additional columns, and all these kind of additional columns you can easily create with Powerapps. Doesn't You don't want to bother it to get changed in the database or in your Excel sheet wherever your data resides. And of course, the next important thing is, using Powerapps, you can even drive the workflow of your apps as well. For example, you might create a homepage screen which you want to be visualized by admin in a separate UI and as a member as a separate UI. Okay, let me tell an example. Let's consider a help desk application, right? I'm an let's say Airtel user, Airtel broadband user, and while I open the Airtel broadband app, it should just show me that, hey Dinesh, what happened? Would you like to file a complaint? Something like that, right? In that case, I just need to have only one button: file a complaint, enter my problem, and what is the priority, and just enter it. That's all. Whereas the same application, when a support person opens up, he need to have some different screens, like what are the high priority tickets that are not solved for a longer time, or what is the assigned tickets for today kind of thing. So based on the user permissions from Azure Active Directory or Office 365, you can drive the app what to show and what to not, and even drive the workflow as well. If if a user from India creates a ticket, then automatically it has to get assigned to a person called Vivek. If a user from Nepal creates a ticket, then automatically it has to assign to Rashmita. Like that, you can drive the workflow as well using Powerapps. And of course, this is very powerful thing. The fifth feature, which I see. Normally, there will be database that is backend, and there will be the UI layer, front end, right? Using the database layer, the front end part can use the database and it will functionate. That will be the most common use case. But with Powerapps, being a functional language and a low-code developer language, you can even write the data back to database also, right? I don't think you have such a kind of easier kind of facility in any other products that can be compared with Power Platform, right? And of course, the last point is it's about single language where you'll be able to use across multiple products. And with this pointer, I'll go to the next slide and let me ask you, how many of you have faced such a situation, right? Um, as being a product manager by myself, I need to be used different kind of tools, work related tools at different times, right? Sometimes my data would exist in Excel, right? In that case, if I know only Power BI, for a very small thing, just adding two columns kind of thing, or trimming a text as you see in the screen, I cannot expect, or someone would not expect me to open up Power BI, import that Excel data, write in the Power Query syntax or DAX syntax, which only I know. Just consider like that, right? It will not be the right thing. What I should do is I just need to open up the Excel itself, just write a simple formula to trim the text, and I need to go ahead, right? But what happens if I don't know the Excel formula and I know the either the DAX query or Power Query, which is only resides in Power BI, then it is not possible for me to convert myself. So I immediately go and search, okay, what is the trim in Excel formula? Google will result some suggestions. I'll use that formula and go ahead and do it. What in case Google Sheets? I again need to search, right? What in case in Power BI? And again need to search. Like this, for the same functionality, different data tools that exist all around us, we were in a situation to learn different functional languages as well, right? For small things. For such a small thing, I may not expect my some other person or a developer, hey, see, I have this requirement, can you do it for me? As a product manager, it's my duty to do it myself, right? So literally myself, I face to this problem to learn different formulas that has been used in different products. And that's why that's where I see the essence of Powerapps and how visionary it is, right? Because naturally the Powerapps came out of came from Powerapps, as I told earlier, right? So that is where it is currently. And soon the Powerapps, you can use Powerapps same language, same syntax in Power Automate as well, and the same syntax in virtual agent as well. These two are is going to be released in a sooner time, maybe within a year. They are vigorously working on it. So that actually helps people to learn one particular language and use it in multiple products, right? And of course, within Power BI also, Powerapps will be supported, but I think they haven't planned it for the next year, maybe in a couple of years, right? So, but that doesn't mean that the existing formula language present within Power Automate and Power Virtual Agent would go on. Powerapps will be additional compatible feature where users can use it for their business logic needs. And of course, here comes the word of open source as well, right? I told you that with the as Powerapps is declared as open source with MIT license, you can use it anywhere, right? But that leads to a very vague question: where are it used practically, right? You could see this example. Acumatica is a cloud ERP tool, right? The actual product which does solves the ERP needs of a customer, right? It is not a programming language. It is not some BA tool or something like that. It is actually an ERP tool where they have integrated this Powerapps language within their reporting module, right? So that they allow users to create simple formulas within their product itself. Previously, what the users of Acumatica have did is they will extract the data from Acumatica and open up in Excel and do the transformations, and again they might inject the data back into Acumatica to do some kind of workflows in ERP. But that has totally changed. The context switching has been reduced. Acumatica has invisibly has implemented Powerapps as formulas within their product itself, right? It actually empowers the product, and it actually boosts up the ranking of product to some next level. And that is all the what the goal of Powerapps also. Its goal is to enable the products and solutions to empower the products users with low code customizations based on the well-known Excel formula language, right? So who can use Powerapps? Of course, as I told earlier, it's all about the creator's mindset, right? When it comes to no code, as I told earlier, it's business friendly language. And of course, you have a feature called ideas within Powerapps itself. I'll show you in the demo. And when it comes to low code, the real world solutions actually needs some additional kind of layer, business logic layer, where it has to be solved with minimal formula language code than just drag and drop, right? And when it comes to full code, this is the most exciting part. You can you can have some people who write the formulas and publish it in GitHub, right? And you can directly connect that with your Power Apps respective elements, so that whenever you do change something in the GitHub itself and you commit it, that will get reflected in all the places where that formula has been used. Of course, it is now only in Power Apps, but just think the power when it comes here, right? So if you change one formula in one place, it gets reflected in all the products it has been used, right? So that's really exciting, right? So from citizens to professionals, anyone can use Powerapps. And I'll quickly jump on to a demo. Um,
So Dinesh, just before you go to demo, there are a couple of questions in the chat.
okay.
So I'm just going to push it on the screen. So
Actually, I don't. Oh, okay, yeah, I don't.
I'll anyways read it out to you. No worries.
Oh,
So you can go back to your normal screen. So so does it mean UI are different for admin and other users? So basically, when you were talking about the the power apps and other things, an admin will have different UI and user will have different UI of the same app which has been built. So the question is that, I believe.
okay. So it's actually in the same screen you'll be having different elements, right? Let's consider admin grid and something that user grid, right? So you can have a same screen itself and have two different grids, right? Which is nothing but UI. In Power Apps, all you need to use the existing table, which can be used as a grid in the app. And using Powerapps, you can control which grid has to be displayed based on the user's designation. Let's say if he's an admin, then show only admin. Let's say if he's just an engineer, then show just the normal regular grid. So that's how you can differentiate. When it comes to UI, it is Power Apps, and when it comes to the controlling part, you can use Powerapps. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Perfect. So the second question is low code no code platform based on Power BI? So I can take that. Basically Power BI is part of the low code no code platform, but there are a bunch of things like Power Apps and which I showed, right? Virtual agents and other things which you can use. So I'll go to the next question, which is a little bit slightly big question. So the question is, say basically a user is making a change to the from a database perspective, is making some change to table A, and from a table A in the same row, while admin user is also making those changes. How does it work in that case?
Okay, of course, it will throw error. The database, what the database would do, the same thing would happen. It's not that. Maybe I think you would have got the question because of this particular point. Write back data to your database. Such kind of atomicity and all those acid kind of compliances, of course the backend developer would take care. But what I mean here is there won't be much write back data to the database, right? So and to directly answer your question, if something happens like that, when the same row is being updated by two users at the same time, of course the conflict will arise and the database will throw the error. The data might not store, or based on the ACID complaints, whichever first goes, it would store. but that doesn't, we don't need to worry that much when we talk in this platform. That's what I would mean.
Got it. I think this pretty much we had questions, so we can just go ahead with the demo.
Okay. Okay. So what I'll show is, I just show the about this particular tool, right? But I assume that still people would not be able to relate why a Powerapps has to be used within a tool and what makes sense, right? So I just picked another tool where Powerapps is not used, but I can explain it with an example, right? So this is a BI tool, right? Consider something an alternate of Power BI, right? This is a commercial BI tool and which is in sales, right? And as it is a BI tool, the customers do ask that, see, I have some requirement where I need to create some calculated fields within the BI tool. Once I import the data, I cannot have those calculated fields in my database. Since it is needed only for the reporting purpose, I need to create such calculated fields within this BI tool itself, right? What the BI tool will be doing is they'll be writing from the scratch, right? They'll be defining a syntax. Okay, left hand side and the right hand side, in between some symbol is coming, it has to be converted to a SQL language and all those kind of things. Let me show you a kind of language already exists, right? Just consider that they have built such a kind of formula language by themselves, right? So since this is a BI tool, it has to be converted into SQL query, right? So whatever the simplified way a user types here, it should be converted into SQL language. And all these things, this particular tools developers are doing by themselves, right? Just think how much time it would incur, right? To support different functions, from number functions and from aggregation functions to count D, and to support the logical functions and or not, and to support the conditional statements, if else, if null, and all those things. It will be very difficult, right? And as you could see, there will be different formulas altogether, right? All these things, these expression languages, they have to allow user to write something like this, and they have to convert it as a SQL query all behind it. But just consider Microsoft PowerFX as a formula language. If they just integrate this into this particular tool, it's all about just the integration time alone, right? All user need is they just need to use Excel kind of formulas into their while using this or building formulas. They just need to write in form of Excel formulas, and that's it, right? The integration itself would be reduced from months time to days time, right? And also you may also think that what in case just PowerFX doesn't have a logical statement, but this particular tools customers want, right? Even in that case, the team can actually pull the Microsoft PowerFX GitHub code, right? Since it is open source, the complete code will be available. They can pull the complete code, they can enhance it, they can add the unfunction into it by themselves, and they can just use it as easy it is. Like the same analogy which I told for the Spark, Apache Spark, and Azure Databricks, right? So that's the power of a software that becomes open source, right? You, that can be used in any commercial tool, and that commercial tool gets the whole benefit of just using it instead of making it, right? So let me directly open Power Apps itself, and let me show you what I was talking all these time, right? So let me just open up a blank app, and let me create a Canvas app and just name it as Reactor demo. And of course, for the time perspective, I can create it from the gallery to display a set of items. And I just have a pre-built widget Power Apps itself has designed it for me. And all I need to do is just connect with my data that I have. For the demo purpose, let me connect with the Northwind traders tables as example, which most of us are familiar with. And I'd like to select products table with it. And when once I connected, it has, as you see, it has automatically picked up the relevant columns, right? I have a column with the URL of images, and by default, it has picked that particular column for the image category, right? And when I see this, it has picked showed as a category. Let me just rename it to display product name. So as you see here, FX, you could also see the same FX thing in the Microsoft Excel also, right? And and I think you will be able to relate why this has been named as formula language, right? It is the same formula language which you can use in Excel and also in Powerapps as well. So just by setting the choosing the respective column, I'm able to see the product's name. But of course, a database person can go ahead with this, like Northwind Traders Chai, Northwind Traders Syrup. But as a users, they won't be looking convenient, right? They don't feel good, right? So I cannot go and tell that, see, in your database, go and change Northwind Traders Chai as just Chai, right? I can even do it from here itself. That's what I was talking about with the Power Apps syntax. All I need to do is just use the reduce function, and I can simply say that from the first character till the 18th character, just replace with uh, uh, this character. Okay, sorry, this is not reduce, it is actually replace. Yeah. And as you could see that I didn't even press enter or tab or anything. While I was typing here, you could see the result directly, right? It's so so super glue it friendly, so that you'll be able to see the results instantly, right? And of course, I'm able to see the product name. Let me add another field into the canvas to display the category which it belongs. And it's so easy that I don't need to do the CSS part and all those things, as you all know. Just the drag and drop and all the positioning and all those things, Power Apps takes care for me. And here, I just need to select the category. Now I'm able to see the category which category the respective product belongs. And of course, user would need to see the what to say, the product's name as well, right? So let me show the name over here, and which is nothing but, what is the name I have? List price. Okay. Oops. So once I have showed list price, I'm able to see the price of each item, the relevant item, right? Of course, this doesn't look catchy visually, so I can increase the font size, and I can even make it bolder, right? So that it will be more catchy to see. And of course, again, user would be confusing, right? What it is 18, and what does it mean actually, right? So a user, he need to be displayed with actual thing what it means, right? So I'm just going to place a dollar symbol before the category, sorry, before the price. So for that, I'm going to use the text function, and that's it. Boom. You are simply saying the dollar symbol just before the price value, right? And again, you will not be able to expecting your backend engineer to set up a dollar icon before this, right? Practically, if something that becomes as a dollar symbol, then the total data type itself gets changed, right? It becomes a string instead of number. So in database, it is not possible. So you have to achieve it in the UI layer, right? All these things front-end developers will be doing, as you all know, in a traditional full code development. And now you are able to do it so easily with the low code app and with the help of PowerFX language as well, right? So once I have did this, I like to categorize or order this list of items in a different category, right? let's try something. So I just need to categorize based on the top 10 products. Okay, so I can just directly go to the idea section and just click on this, and just clicking on this gallery item, gallery widget, I'm able to see a set of examples which I can apply. So as you could see, it has by default it is showing that do you want to display top 10 products. So this is the formula. Just go click apply, and it will just show as it is, right? Let me just change this to top 3, right? So it is just showing me the top 3 items, right? And of course, let's try something advanced. Top 10 products sorted by list price, right? So, okay, I have a spelling mistake, so let me correct it. Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to know the formula for the top to display the top 10 products that has to be sorted by the list price, right? So once I type what I need, the AI, right? The text classification and automatically understands what I needs as a business user, and it shows me a set of formulas here, right? As you could see here, the first 10 sort of products, list price, ascending, comma 10, right? And simply you can simply apply it, right? And of course you can see the the products that has been sorted ascending wise, so you're able to see the lowest product value as first. Let us just change something here. Let us do this descending order. And of course, boom, we're able to see the items in the descending order, right? So the actual Powerapps language itself is simple, and the ideas section in Power Apps, it makes your work, makes your life so easier as well, right? You'll be not very much complex thing, or you may not be getting suggestions for all the things, right? But have a handhold kind of thing. You don't need to Google again and again to find the formulas, what is the syntax, check the help documentation. You can use these ideas definitely to do find some basic things what you need, right? So as a final part of my demo, let me just show you how you can take out the source code of Powerapps, do some changes, and see through it, right? So for that, I have already pulled up the library, pre-built library, which is available as a NuGet packages um, for this Microsoft Powerapps, and just integrated as a sample, which even you can see avail the sample in the documentation itself, which I'll share in the resources page. And let me show you a simple example. So what I mean here is, once you get the source code, do some changes, do build it as DLLs, right? And you can simply try it out like this for your own purpose, right? So let me just open up and start to debug. This is a REPL sample where you give some input that gets calculated with the library and shows some output, right? So behind this particular thing, it's the actual Powerapps libraries that are playing. So let me just show a very simple calculation, 2 plus 2, and it is showing me the result. And of course, I can try some different thing. Let me try set radius of set radius comma 10, right? So this set braces radius comma 10, I define the syntax, okay? And behind the screen, the actual function that gets enabled in Powerapps, it is nothing but engine dot update variable, right? So you don't need to use the actual function. You can write a wrapper on top of the actual Powerapps functions. You can create your own function definition, and you can simply execute it. And of course, we have defined a variable, and now let us set a formula. Area equal to 3.14 into radius, right? So I'm just getting the answer, right? So in this case, while I define with LHS and RHS, behind the screen, it would be calling engine dot set formula function, right, in the Powerapps. And of course, let me try changing the radius value to 100, right? In this case, it will be calling update variable function, right? Earlier, it will be calling the set variable function, and now it would be calling update variable function. And as you could see, once I change the value of radius, it has also changed the value of formula as well, which I have created, right? So it is so functional that once you change in one place, it gets to the reflected in all the relevant places. That's what I show you in the code level at last, right? Showed you in the Powerapps in the UI level, and I showed you in the code level as well, right? And of course, if I execute this help function, it would be showing the list of functions which is available behind the screen. And most of you, as you could see, all these functions are the same which you use in Microsoft Excel, right? So just see how easy it will be once you learn one language and use it in all the places, right? So with that, I'll end my talk. And before that, let me just share the resources, right? So you could simply access to these URLs, and you'll be able to see the actual GitHub PowerFX example, right? Which I have executed with a REPL kind of solution, right? You'll be able to see the sample, and for you can just check the powerapps.microsoft.com the blog section to know the updates of PowerFX. And these two are a couple of good videos which I feel in this video you will be able to see the PowerFX extended functionality than I showed here, right? So the complete functionality with many complex examples you will be able to see with this video. And with this video, you'll be able to build an inventory app. There will be a step-by-step instruction where the speaker would have gone through, right? So yes, and that's it. And thanks for the opportunity for the Reactor and Vivek and Rashmita guys, right?
I have a so couple of questions there, so I just will take that one. So
Sure.
while you were showing about the currency uh, conversion, right, to dollar sign, and there was a question whether you can do a currency conversion there as well.
Of course, yes, it is possible because it's again a mathematical formula, right? So the sky is the limit. You have the formula, you have the data, you blend it and do achieve whatever
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah, to summarize, you just go to Power Apps, start with a canvas. You have a data in an Excel. You just add it in the data there, and then you just pick up a template, Power App template, which is there, and then you start creating the with formulas with how you want to structure it. So you can just I keep adding the formulas. You can also customize by creating your own code and create new formulas as well. But there is already pre-built formulas which is there. You just pick it and use it. That's it. So your app is ready, and you just go and boom. You can get it as a web app or a
Mobile app.
build a Android app or iOS app. That's so simple. If you're a startup, if you're looking at this, you should go and try it out now. So it's you can build a startup in next 2-3 hours. So if you're really having an idea, you just need to go there and build it with this Power Apps, right? So yes, Dinesh, I think it was an amazing demo, and thank you for coming in. And that's pretty much we had questions as well in the question section. And there was one more question. Sorry, I missed that one. That is Power FX is similar to Oracle Apex? I'm not sure. I think I'll let you answer that as well. No.
Yeah, even I don't have idea.
Uh,
Maybe
yeah,
both are
and I'm not.
catchy, similar names, but I don't know.
Yeah, I
Maybe we
think I
can.
think we will come back to you on that question as well. So that's pretty much, Dinesh. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for this amazing demo. And we will look forward. We will do more sessions like this, deep dive sessions on Power Apps and building low code, no code, demos and other things for people who want to learn this. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Vivek. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, folks, for attending. Yeah.
So I'm bringing in Vivek. Hello, Vivek. You're on mute.
Hello everyone. Hi.
How are you? How was the
Yeah,
evening?
great. Yeah, good. It's a very pleasant evening.
Okay, let me
Right.
introduce Vivek to everyone. I'm pretty sure most of them know Vivek, but I'm still want to go over there and introduce Vivek. And he's a data scientist at Nextem. And I don't know, while I was reading your bio, right, it's very difficult, brain computer interface hardware. Uh, that's something really interesting. Brain computer interface hardware is what he's developing there, right? So that's an interesting one. If you want to know what it is, you connect with him and he will be able to explain it. And he has 5 international papers and 20 times international and national level hackathon winner. Wow, man, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and by the way, yeah, I'm pretty excited to learn about the AI builders, and I just learned an amazing thing from Dinesh, right? So, um, how to build using Power Apps, how to build an application now, how to add AI to that application, right? So
Yes.
it's an interesting talk as well for everyone, whoever has joined in. I know that you were doing something with respect to Twitter, so I did mention about
Yep.
that when I was talking about the agenda. So let's see, all yours, floor is yours, Vivek.
Yeah, thank you. Yep. So this session will definitely include a very amazing demo. And I guess a few of them would have got a glimpse of the demo because when I was preparing for this presentation, I posted a couple of test tweets and I forgot to delete it. So people started pinging me and asking what was the tweet is about. So, yep. So that's the answer for today. So once you join in the session, we'll run through some of the concepts and so on so stuff. And of course, we'll check the demo, what's it about. I guess it should be pretty interesting. It was interesting for me while I developing it, so it should be. Yep, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Uh, just give me a second. Let me know when you can see my screen. Okay, 1 second.
We can see your screen. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yep. So hello everyone. So this session is about how to build intelligent business use cases using AI Builder. So I'm very recently introduced to Power Platform, and I was actually taken aback by the features and enormous flows and everything which is available. So sometimes I actually feel a little bit embarrassing to develop all the flows by myself without actually knowing that there is a flow existing always in Power App, and I never knew about I can leverage that. But of course, now I'm exploring it, and it's very fascinating. So now we'll actually see about how we can actually make your business use cases much more interesting and intelligent using AI Builder. And of course, this conference is about no code, no a low code and no code. So we'll be actually using of that, and we'll be able to make it much more interesting. So once again, I'm Vivek, and I'm working as data scientist at Nextem. And yep, thanks for that fair good introduction. Yep, if you want to really know about brain-computer interfacing, so yep, do ping me. I would like to have a chat with you. I'm also organizer at Azure Developer Communities. I am taking care of the cities at Tamil Nadu. So so today's session is about how we can use Power Apps and Power Platform to help to create intelligent business use cases. And we'll be actually using pre-built as well as custom models. But today's demo will be actually based on pre-built, but I'll just introduce you to how to create custom models as well. So, yep, you can refer to my introduction a little bit later, but yeah, I guess we already know about each other, so let's move on with that. So, yep, coming to AI Builder. So, it's an power platform capability so that enables you to add AI models to your business processes. So, if you really check, there are so many people with so many levels and experience of development working in a company or any business. It can be a technical person or not technical person, and even in the technical person, there are so many various domains that not everyone is much familiar with machine learning. And even if they do so, there are a lot of constraints that needs to be applied and taken care of while creating a particular machine learning model. So it's kind of a tedious process. It's kind of a tedious process. So this will actually make you to automate and simplify your entire process end to end so that a person with no developer or any technical skill can actually create some intelligent applications out of nowhere within a couple of minutes. So Yep, that's one of the interesting points, that you don't really need to have any coding or data science skills to access the power of AI. And of course, when it comes to a business, we don't have to really depend on pre-built flows or something like that. Your business may actually need to cater to some specific requirements and use cases that may not be found in platforms, but that does not really tie your hands here. So Power Platform gives you the space to create your own ML model and deploy it and use it in your workflow. And of course, this ML model is also with the no-code approach. So which means you can create model out of nowhere. All you have to have is a data, and that's it. And and of course, a platform gives you all the connectors to bring in your data, bring in your model, connect to it, train your model, deploy it, and everything in one single designer flow. So now that actually we discussed that what's the capabilities of AI, now let's see what how we can actually add some intelligence to your applications over here. So to break down the whole process, I can we can put it into 5 simple steps. So the first one is to choose an AI model type. Yep. So as we saw a little bit earlier, so the model types can be a pre-built model or a custom model. So choosing an AI model type is actually a business decision over here. So if you have a very specific intended use case, then you have to go for custom. Or if you do not have, it's a very productivity based issue and it can easily be solved with an existing workflow, go for pre-built model types. We'll talk more about this particular topic a little bit later in the session, but yeah, you can keep it in mind. So the second one is connect data. So if you take any sort of a AI and machine learning application, it cannot work without data. So which means you have to bring your data inside your application. So it can be a text, or it can be an API call, or it can be a file storage and somewhere out of your in your application. So there should be some way your data is actually available, and it should be your responsibility to connect your data to your application. So that's the second step of connecting the data. And the third one is tailoring your AI model. So what does it actually mean? So when a particular model is available and your data is available, how your model should interact with that particular AI model. So that is how you have to define and design it. So once that is all is done, your responsibility is to train the model. But if it's a pre-built model, you don't really have to do so. And once that is done, you can collect your insights from the AI model. And with that, you can actually use the insights to make some business decision processes involved with it. So now that we saw that there is only a 5 simple steps required you to create your intelligent applications, now let's try to deep dive into that each processes one by one. The first one is about the AI models. I guess I spoke about it a little bit later, but let's try to understand it even more. So these are little bit concepts that you might really need to know before starting it, because that will really help you to build your application seamlessly. So of course, I won't be actually deep diving into machine learning concepts, but this is like more pertaining to your Power Platform concepts. So of course, as we already know that there are two types of AI models, which is custom and pre-built. But there is also a third model which is also can be put into a separate category called custom prediction model. So there'll be a little bit difference on the first two and the third one. Let's attend to it a little bit later, because it will be much more easier to explain and understand over there. So now we have three types of data models available with us. So now again, let's try to understand when to use that. So if you have some business use case which you need to have put a business decision over there, and it has a very specific use case, go for the custom. And if it is a pre-built model and it's a productivity based and it already available, go for pre-built AI model. And the third one is now the custom prediction model. So if you want to really do some insights based on your historical data, and if your historical data changes from time to time, then your custom prediction model will come into picture. And I think as of now, there is only one custom prediction model available. So that's why it's not a big of a category, but more like a feature added to it. So now that we know there are three different types, now let's try to understand like what are the models which is available inside each model type. So now let's put this as a category wise analysis. So if you take document, there are a couple of document related AI models available. The first one is business card reader. So it's a pre-built type. So business card reader is where you can collect the information about the name, the company, the email address, the work email address, the phone number, the designation. A lot of information is available in a business card. So this AI model will help you to read those data, store it, and of course you can process it as well. So the second one is form processing. It's a custom. As you know, why it is being a custom model here is that a form is very dynamic, and it can be of any types and sizes, and it can be of various labels, text, and each text, it necessarily not be a text. It can be of various form inputs such as radio box, checkbox, and so on. So to understand different types of form inputs and the form outputs and the layouts of the form, that you need to really lay down the processing types and how you need to process it. So that's a custom build type and a form processing. And the third one is text recognition. Yep, it's nothing but your OCR, where you try to recognize text from your documents or your images or PDFs or wherever it is. And the first one is the receipt processing, is where you try to process some receipts. For example, it can be an invoice for your particular business, or it can be any sort of an order details or something like that. And probably it contains about the order products and the product prices, quantities, tax rate, the total price, and the coupons which is available, and the discounts, and all related types which is related to receipt over here. So that's falls under the document, and followed by there is a text. So coming to the model types as text, we have a category classification. It can be both as a pre-built and custom. So whenever there is a text which is available, you try to categorize to put into particular category. For example, your pre-built model can actually help you to categorize into different products. For example, if I say I'm going to swimming today, then it can be put as a category of hobby. So, and if you want to really make it much more custom, then I'm going to swimming today. So, which means that category can actually also denote the place, time, and date, where you can actually pick up the particular place and make much more details out of it. And the second one is entity extraction. So you try to extract the entities out of it. For example, the name, place, all your POS, that the parts of the speech. And typically, if you have some experience of NLP, you might have really known about entity extraction, where you try to extract like nouns, verbs, and different types of noun, and what it really does and everything. So that's entity extraction. And when it comes to the custom model of that, is like if you have some custom names and phrases over there, so which needs to be recognized. For example, it can be name of your product, and it can be needs to be recognized as an entity. That's where you're bringing your custom model into picture. And the next one is key phrase. So there can be a ton of data, text data available, but you have to really need to concentrate on data which has only your particular mentions. For example, your company name or product is where you take your key phrase extraction. So if you mention the particular number of key phrases, then the text which has those key phrases will be picked out and shown to you. And the fourth one is language detection. Yep, you try to detect which language the text is upon and make some decisive actions out of it. So followed by we have structured and images. So we have structured data. That's where your prediction model type comes into the picture. So that which we were talking about. So a structured data type can be a table or tabular form of data. It can be also a DB or your Excel file sheet or wherever it is. It needs to be a little bit structured. And based on your insights of the data, you try to make some decisions out of that. So it's pretty much custom because your data is very much delicate and it's varied, and you know the data better. So you can lay down your custom model on that. And the next one is images, where you can try to classify you can try to classify the images, or you can detect objects out of that. I guess typically like Azure Cognitive Services does the same, but you can also make it much more custom by creating your own classes of images and your objects over there. So now that actually we spoke about what is AI Builder and what are the features it has, we talked a lot about what is models and model types and so on. So I guess that's pretty much for you to consume as a new person who's stepping into that. But we can try to relate what are the business scenarios that each model type has, so that you'll be able to know that this has a real-time application and use case for it. As you know, like we have form processing, where you have custom applications and you can try to automate it. Receipt is where you automate your expense reports like invoices, bills, and so on. So Category classification, you try to categorize your user feedbacks based on your focus. For example, if it's an e-commerce website and a person types a comment on a particular product, you try to understand which product the person is actually texting about. So that's one thing. And all the necessary other stuffs like a product reviews, you try to extract the insights out of it. For example, if it's a good review or a bad review, not about the sentiment analysis, but it's about, do they actually mention about any specific technical specification that went wrong over there. For example, if I say I bought my iPhone but I don't really like the camera in that, that's not actually a fact, but I do really like it. But if that's a comment, then I need to really pick out that the camera is not good, so that the camera is an entity over there. And followed by that, identify the language of the text. So you may not really be familiar with all the language and of the world, so you really need to know which language it is posted from. For example, if you're actually having an application which is focusing on different customers from different languages and countries, then identifying the language of the text, then processing it might really help you to understand what they really speak and take some decision out of that. And text translation, yep, I think that is quietly coupled with the language detection. So which is actually, both these two are actually my favorite AI services of all the time. So, and also one of the demos actually focused on this. And we have sentiment analysis, you classify whether it's a positive or negative or a neutral review. And prediction is where you identify a fraudulent transaction. So uh, let's take credit card transactions going over a period of time. You don't really know when a fraudulent transaction can really take place, so you need to understand your historical data and know that this is a very valid transaction. But when an outlier or something like that which actually makes a transaction which more doubtful and suspicious, then you have to mark that as a fraudulent transaction. So that's where your prediction actually works on a historical data rather than a particular machine learning model. So, yep, key phrase like social media is huge. So, if you have a lot of mentions going on, if you really need to know someone is talking about your company or something about your employee or someone, you can get alerted whenever a particular social media goes online. And business card reader, you can automate all the business cards. Object detection, where you can actually maintain a warehouse and inventory management. And text recognition, you can convert all your data and image photos into text. I guess that's one of the typical way to do it, because it actually saves a lot of memory in your data as well. So these are the scenarios which actually you can use with this model types. And I guess it's the right time to jump into demo. So we actually spoke a lot. So let's go to Powerapps Automate and see what's there really there and start building some amazing demos out of it. So actually we have planned two demos for this. So the first one is how to send a mail notification when a positive tweet is posted. So yep, just give me a second while I open my. Okay, I'm going to go to my Power Automate platform. Once you hop into that, you'll see something like this. So I don't really have much going on over here, but you will see all the dashboards of pre-built templates and so on to immediately get started. And also have very deep tutorials and documentations where you can just learn and create with just referring to that. So yep, here comes our AI builder, but let's try to see what's inside that. It's taking a couple of seconds to load. Yep. So I think this is all we actually saw in our presentation, which is where we are trying to extract from invoices, OCR, receipt, and identity documents, and so on. So these are specific use cases which you can create, and we can see which specific categories. So you can, if you want the text, then you can predefine your classify your customer feedback into categories, sentiment analysis, language which is there, and pick out the most relevant words, which is key phrase extraction, and so on. So you can browse through your categories over there, and these are the models where you can create your custom model or build your model from scratch, and it's very simple process. But in this for this demo, actually we are not going to much more concentrate on the custom models, but rather let's try to hop on to create some pre-built model workflows. To create a workflow, what you have to do is go to flows, where where you define some steps, what should be done and when should be done, and so on. So I'm going to create a new flow. So which is I'm going to create from a very you can even go for a template which is already available, like which is like it have tons and tons of templates. So for example, create an issue in Azure DevOps when a mail is received. So this is actually a very good one which you're having if you're having a support system already existing. And of course, if you have some familiarity with Azure DevOps, you might really know how it's difficult to maintain all your workflows, work items, and issues, and so on. So automating it is actually a very good task over here. So, but let's try to create one for ourselves. So, which is easy, and we can start with some basic templates. So, I'm going to create one. First one is what I'm going to do is I'm going to whenever there is a positive text tweet is tweeted, so I want it mailed to me. So that's the first demo. Let's see. So tweet me positive text, positive tweets. Okay, sorry, it should be mail me. Okay, anything that can go. Yes. So the trigger is you can identify the trigger. So the first thing is when my a tweet is posted. So that's your trigger. So let's even skip for it, but you can select from here if you want to. So let's check what are the things available for Twitter. So it is like when a new tweet is posted. Yes, that's correct. I'll create a new one, and yep. So these are the search text which actually looks into your tweet and tries to pick up the tweet from there. So let's say like whenever I tweet a particular, for example, let's make it much more simpler. Like whenever Vivek myself who tweets that, so you can see my Twitter handle available in this particular thing. It's nothing but Vivek the 007. It's already available in the video as well. And let's see what happens. So this is the trigger. Like whenever a tweet is actually from, I think it should be at. Let me just quickly check it. Yeah, so it's from colon at Vivek Raja 007. Okay, so now let's add a next step. So once we actually have a tweet posted, what should I do? So since we are going to leverage AI Builder over here, I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to select based on this. Analyze whether the tweet is positive or negative. Yep, that's the one which actually we are rooting for. Yeah, let's go for that. So what should we do? There can be several languages, and to attend to that, for simplicity, let's go for only English only tweets. And what text should we analyze? It's a tweet text which we need to analyze, not the username or anything like that. So let's go for the tweet text. So yeah, so once that is done, what really happens? We have a tweet posted. We have an AI model which actually analyzes whether that's a positive or a negative tweet. Then what should I do? Now I need to make a decision action over there. So third step is may I take a control and I lay down a condition over there. So the condition is like whenever the tweet text is positive, right? So the overall text is positive. Yes, that's right. And what is it should be equal or not equal or greater than or greater than or equal to. Yep, I need the text to be positive, and the probability is like it should be more than zero point 0.5. Yep, as a probability lies between 0 to 1. If it's more than zero point 0.5, it's definitely a positive tweet. So I'm going to lay down value as zero point 0.5. So once this its condition is satisfied or not satisfied, there is a decision over here if it's an yes or no. So I'm going to just cater to the yes condition because I need only my positive tweets to be mailed to me. I'm going to add an action here. So the action is it's going to be a mail. So uh, actually, let's see. It's a notification actually to be in fact. So it's let's search for it. So notification, send me an email notification, and let that be like okay, Vivek posted a positive tweet. Yeah. Let's for simplicity, let's keep that as a body itself. There's no issues. Yeah. So now that we actually lay down a particular flow, like a trigger, then a decision, then a control over that, then you make a decision with the condition, and once the condition is satisfied, you lay down a particular action items left to it. So these are the steps which we laid. So before saving that, let me just quickly check if the flows are correct. Yep, I don't have any errors or warnings, so which means we are good to go for the flow. Let me save this. So it may take a couple of seconds to save and do so. So now that you may ask a question that I have written a code earlier to do a sentiment analysis on a tweet, but why is AI Builder and a Power Platform much more efficient at that? So as a developer who myself who have done this earlier, let me show the differences in that. So if you really use a Twitter API to make some predictions out of it, you might obtain a developer key from the Twitter developers portal, and there's a rate limiting factor on how much tweets you can actually analyze for that. And there is also a limit that you can only analyze only 7 days of tweet. So there are several constraints over there. So actually, Microsoft helps us to overcome these barriers, and you can also cut off the rate limiting factors and so on, so stuff. So the flow is ready, and let's go and try to establish this flow. So now the flow is ready, the status is on, and whenever there is a particular flow is run, you have a history of that over here. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head to my Twitter account, and I'm going to make a tweet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Reactor Days India. So uh, I am very happy to present my session at Microsoft Reactor. The demos are interesting. Okay, this seems a very positive tweet, but let's see if actually this is classified as a very positive one. So hashtag, let's make it much more. I'm happy. Okay with a smiley. So I'm going to make a tweet. So when the tweet is goes, then your automate should be invoked over there, and you have to receive a mail notification out of it. So I'm tweeting it. So let's see if this is run. Right now there is no runs which is available. Let's check that. Maybe it takes some time to understand when this flow is run, or maybe we have to go back and check where we actually go has gone wrong or somewhere. Nope. So yep, there might be some issues over there. So let's go and check our flow checker and see if there's any errors or warning. Nope. Then let's edit our workflow to make sure that there is nothing has gone wrong. So it's from Vivek Raja 007. Let's just check if I'm in my account. Correct, I'm in mine. Then the search text, it's in English, and the probability is positive. Yes, that's right, and it's greater than or equal to, and it sends me a notification. Yep, I guess it's right. So it should be okay. Let's save it again. Yep. Um, yep, actually it has run. Uh, so what should actually now I should see is to the condition is met, it's positive, and it's 99% it's positive. So which means your tweet should be actually I should have received my mail notification. Let's go head out to my mail, vivek@cortexvca.com. So, yep. So here it is. So that's why we have configured the subject as Vivek posted a positive tweet, and here I received it. So, yep. So that's a wonderful workflow that we can actually pick out a positive text over there. And where the similar use case can be applied, like if you want to really understand if your employees do not actually make some controversies in Twitter, maybe you can use this as well. So that's one of use cases which I can right now think about. Yep. So we can actually make Twitter, and you can do some sentiment analysis with the tweets. So, uh, yep. Vivek, do we have some time to create a second workflow? Just to
Yeah,
can we go
we
for a
have.
second?
We have.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
great. Okay. So let's take a second demo over here, or we can actually test if this also again goes. So I guess if you want, you can also configure if you want. You can do that. But yep, if this works, then everything should work. Okay, let's go for a second demo over here. So what I'm actually going to do is, again, let's hop to Twitter. So it's tran detect and translate tweets. Yep. So what I'm going to do is whenever a tweet is posted, I want to detect if it's in a particular language, and if it is, then I have to translate, and yep, I can process with that. So let's again go for a Twitter trigger, so which is posted. I'm going to create this one. So right now, can go for let me show you an example of posting that with a particular this one on a hashtag. So let's take that. If someone has a hashtag Tamil, and if someone actually has a Tamil text in that tweet, then you have to translate and let me know. So this is the trigger, and I'm going to add the AI builder. So the AI builder has to first detect the language being used in the text. Yeah. So it should be the tweet text, and then what I have to do is uh, once that is done, I have to translate it. So okay, I have to actually lay down a condition over here. So once I detect a Tamil text, I have to translate it. So when uh, okay, okay, right, okay, I have to is condition is equal to 1 second on that. Okay, the first one is like detect the language, and we have to set to the response over here. So the control is I have to check if the value of that. So I have to check if the response is equal to or contains Tamil. So that's when I have to do it. So it's yes. Okay. So if this condition is actually done, so what I have to do is I have to translate it. So mm, translate. Okay. Extract information. Okay, there. I think this I messed up this one, but yep. Let's go with the simpler approach. Let's if the text is actually in Tamil, let's try to mail me or something. That should also do it. So send a notification, and yep, it's mm, okay. Okay, let's keep it much more simpler. So the condition if the language is equal to Tamil, which makes much more sense. And yep. So what I have to do is I'm going to take this particular text and translate it, right? So let's remove this for now, and I'm going to take AI builder and detect the count objects, detect the language. Yep, but recognize the text. Yep, I don't think so. I can find the translate, but yep, let's just mail for now. That should also do. Mm, yep, it's Tamil tweet. So let's make it the body as well. So that when this is done, let me save it or check the workflow. Yep, everything is right. So let me save it. Okay, so when this is done, what I have to do is now the workflow is ready. Let's try to detect the text right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a tweet. Uh, I'm making a Tamil tweet. Let's translate. I don't have a Tamil keyboard, so let me just use the translate. So over here, so let me tweet it. And of course, I'm just going to root for hashtag Tamil. So let me tweet that, and let's see if we can find the workflows. Yep, the run may take a couple of minute or so. So let's wait for that. So while this flow might get run, let's go and actually verify how the flow has been written so far. So what we have done is we have taken a tweet, we have identified the language, and for the language, actually, what we have done is we try to identify what language it has, and we try to send an email notification. So that's a workflow which we have created. So let's wait for the workflow to get executed. So Uh, for that, while the workflow is getting executed, let's go back and review the thing which we have seen so far. So there are like the 5 steps which we have actually done here. So which is the first one is so the first one is we have chosen a AI model. Yep, that's a pre-built one, and we connected the data. So the data is coming from the Twitter. So then we actually tailored our AI model. So which is like the text translation or the sentiment analysis over there. And then yep, you don't really have to train a pre-built model. And once that insight is required from obtained from your AI model, we made particular action items to be done. So which is we actually uh, taken that and mail to ourselves and do some things with that. So let's go back and check if this run has been executed. So yep, I think this there might be some issues with the way it was written, but let's yep. So yep, this will be actually also updated as a blog. So if this didn't this demo, if this second demo is actually not going to work, then yep, we'll try to see some. Yep, it okay. It has been executed. So let's check that. So I need to check if the Tamil tweet is. There are like several Tamil tweets might be coming in at a particular point of time. So this is not actually from me. So everything got executed from time to time. So okay, I'm checking the same one, I guess. So oh right, okay, okay. There is a second one, and this is the first one which a tweet came. Okay. Yep. So there are a lot of tweets which came in, and it should be mailed to me if these are right. So okay. Yep. Whenever there is a Tamil tweet which came in and it had messaged me, so I can add a translation service over there and get the real insight from there. So that's the second one which I wanted to show, and yep. Let's head back to our presentation and. Uh, so these are like the demos which we are seeing. Like it took only a couple of minutes for us to create a particular use case that can be injected in your application in your complete workflow. So the reference is like this documentation, like I have just shared one link, but it actually contains everything over there. So you can start with all your model types, build your custom models, and also check out some existing workflows that you can leverage for your particular application. So these are my LinkedIn, GitHub, and Twitter profiles. You can connect with me for I do write a lot of blogs and technical content, and as well as I present a lot of Azure related live streams and talks. So you can connect with me to get updated on the same. So yep, if there are any questions, then I would like to really see if there to cater to that. Yeah.
So basically, is this platform is it equal to Mendex? I'm not sure what that means.
Uh, Mendix, I'm not really explored that particular platform, but I really like to check that out and circle back to you on this particular thing.
Yes, I mean that was the question which was posted. One of the questions,
Okay. Mhm.
and thank you so much, by the way. And I mean, this particular example shows how easy it is to build something from a development perspective. Just go to Power Apps and just get started with your workflow. You already have pre-built models, AI models, which is already
Mm-hmm.
available for you to use it, you can also customize it, right? So you
Yep,
can
yep, yep.
have a custom built ones as well, and you can
Mm-mm.
uh, just go there, use these things, build the app, and you're getting all. I mean, you were able to already figure out the sentiment of a couple of tweets, which is coming
Mm-mm.
for a for a couple of hashtag and couple of accounts. You can just build it, and you can get started emails as well. So
Yep,
that's the power of low code and no code, and hardly you wrote any code here, right? I mean, it's a
yep,
completely no code.
yep, yep.
So uh, thank you so much, Vivek, for joining and definitely doing this demo. Both the demos were really amazing, and I really enjoyed these demos. Truly, I can relate to you, like you were
Mm.
enjoying while doing this demo, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. So I can truly relate. Thanks for joining in,
Yeah,
and thank you very much for coming for the Reactor days.
great. Okay, thanks for actually having me. And yep, and do look out for the upcoming sessions. I'm going to join in the audience, and I'm going to watch that. So yep, thanks guys, and see you soon.
Yep. And next up, I have Vishwas here, who has
Hello,
joined me
everybody. Hello,
just
Vivek.
before. Hey, Vishwas, how are you?
Good.
I'm a little bit worried that you don't call me here, sir, and you will just call
Yes,
me.
Vivek. Yes,
You
Vivek.
just call me Vivek. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, so just before we go to go to the next session with Vishwas, I just want to talk about a little bit of time in terms of there is a classical challenge which I have covered all of these things in that challenge. Like there is a lot of learn modules which I have added into that challenge. So if you want to take a stab at it, just go to the aka.ms/reactor days, and you'll be able to access all of these things. And yes, let me introduce Vishwas. How is what Vishwas been doing nowadays. He's basically a technophile, and you know he's a student. He's not a engineering student, by the way. He's a research student. So, and he explores so much of in especially in AI ML world. He explores so many tech technologies, and he reads a lot of papers. That's what I know. And last year, I have seen Vishwas doing 40 plus sessions, right? Is it 40
Yeah.
plus?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
40
40 plus
plus.
sessions, and around 40 podcast. True?
Above that,
False?
80 plus.
About that. Oh my God. See. Okay. So that's what Vishwas is for all of us. And yeah, Vishwas, please do teach us how to use ML platform from a low code, no code perspective, how to get
Sure.
started with it. And floor is yours. Take it from here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vivek. Basically, when you talk about the low code and the no code, it's basically an abstraction of the higher order complexity which you had over a course of time. Just like back then, Stanford and the MIT guys used to do. And now you just do it with the click, 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 and everything is sorted. And that's a part of cloud today because they were so frustrated like, okay, we have to think about the misconfigurations in the cloud. We have to think about what is going to go wrong next, and of course, everybody knows that there is Kubernetes, which can go down. And lately, they just introduce a lot of products within that. But even today, I'll show you how today it's been automated. So before jumping into all these kind of and yeah, ML and things like that, let me just give you a quick intro about the this entire technology. How did it evolve, and how is industry perceiving it over a course of time? I'm not as good as Shivam sir is, but like I just try to do my best on the whiteboard. So what was the beginning of an human exploration towards the deep learning was just a humble attempt to understand what was the functionality of a brain. They thought that it's adaptable. So inadaptable means that you want to lift a weight and your body moves in such a way that it's an involuntary action, right? You don't make sure that action is being dictated by you, but involuntarily it feels that this is the requirement of that, and I need to do this kind of a movement. The blood has to flow like this, and the things like that. They saw that human brain is doing a lot of adaptability for a human functionality. And now they thought, okay, there's a brain which is so good, and there is a lot of insights that it gets, and it has an intent over a course of time. It just found its own purpose. So this is basically a purpose, right? So lately, I just want to ask Vivek, like, what was your first experience when you entered the world of AI? Like, what was your first experience when you entered the world of AI?
I don't know. I was building chatbot.
Yeah, I can understand that. When you think of this, yeah, you can completely say those insights. By the way,
No, no, nothing.
Vivek.
I was building chatbots, so I was just I used couple of I used Azure Cognitive Service basically
Yeah,
when that was my first experience as well, because it was
yeah,
easier to build it. And yeah, I mean that was the
that's what
first
it is.
experience I had. But that's where the indent, and we use the indent, and the rest of the things which which is part of
Yeah.
the while building the chatbot, right? So you have those indents and other things which is there. Yep.
Yep, that's true. Like, just because you just had that experience of building it, you got to know that there is an intent which is added, and purpose to communicate is also there, right? If I build a bot which has to take care of my application of all these, what do you can say? Let's say 1,000 people come and hit me at one given point on that website, and everybody wants that easy solution, and purpose of communication has to be there. So this is what we also do, right? We learn to communicate, we learn to have a purpose. And now they just explored that, okay, instead of exploring a brain, forget the fact that there is a complex entity. Now let's just understand a neuron. And a neuron is basically a simplest and tiny most bundle of cells which has a nucleus, which has a lot of armor. Don't worry, I am not going to give you a complete biology lectures here, but I'm going to give you that insight which is required, because low code and no code evolved with this concept itself. So of course there is a huge link which has to go down, and there is an protective layer which is called as a myelin sheet. Just keep that as a protective layer, and there is an humble attempt from that same neuron to communicate with another neuron. So this is what you call an harbor or an dendrites. So dendrites are there. So what I just wanted to explain was, it's always about this adaptability, insights and intent. Of course, we have rocked the world with it. You can see a lot of algorithms like PCA and lot of other things which are also required today, which we might think it's old, but yet it's always available to you. So evolution started by understanding a tiny chunk of a thing, and now they put it in a form of a mathematics, and they gave a system design approach. So your black box is now a neural network. So every system which was a black box back then, today it's a neural network today. So it's a neural network which has some sort of a function, and now you give an input, there is an output. So something in and something out. So it will be function of input. That's what they realized. Okay. So now let's just think in the form of lines. Like, if I have an y-axis and an x-axis, if I have a plot here, 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 and here, I see that there is a sort of a pattern which is coming in for me, right? Can I make it mathematical? So it's still the same old y is equal to mx plus c. M is the slope of a line, which is like y2 minus y1 into x2 minus x1. Don't worry, it's not too much of a math. Just say what is the slope of a line, you will get it. So it's y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1. So let's say this is the x1, this is the x2, and this has a coordinate of y2 as well, and I take the coordinate of y1s as well. So I just I just subtract y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, divide it, and I have this slope. So this is what they've started right now, and it's a simple linear equation for a line, right? So now they just named it as a neuron, and that was a Rosenwald model which just came in inside this entire thing. And now they made sure that there is an input with a lot of weights and everything being added and things like that. Plus, there is going to be a bias which I'm going to add, because this is going to behave exactly like a neuron, but this is not going to be an entire neurons that is going to be organic. This is going to be inorganic, some sort of a CMOS substrate. And now you have this Y, and this Y was just your XW1 plus P. So what you can see is just a constant which is just being added here. It's just a constant bias that is always staying there. Weights are just going to be altering at any given point of time. The inputs are also going to be altering at any given point of time. So this is how they just made that complex explanation into a mathematical format. And now this is a neuron. And over a course of time, they told, okay, fine, a neuron is good, but what if we have a plethora of neurons and we just say that, hey, we are just going to go ahead and run out this entire neurons list of it. We are just going to connect each and every one of it. Like, just imagine me connecting everything. So it's the shortest thing that I just wanted to say for you folks. Just imagine that I connected all the things in all the possible ways, like none of the neuron touches it again and things like that. And now there is a stream of inputs that come in and stream of outputs that are going out. All these what I'm doing seamlessly will happen in a neural network that I'll be building here. So there are designers, there are complex entities that will be going through everything. So now they told, wait, in this system design experience that we had right now, oh, sorry for this, there is a concept called as a feedback, right? So they just made sure that they don't call it as a feedback, because they had a fight between the mechanical and the other folks, and they told it back propagation. So that's where you call it as an BP. So this is a back propagation. So there's an algorithm for that. There's a math behind it, which is basically differentials and all these kind of things. But over a course of time, it's just a simple logic that they started applying, and now it became an useful thing. Like, it's like, I'm going to make a simple logic out of all these things that I've learned from. So this is where back propagation came into the picture. And now they told, like, let's just take the same old output from here and now feed it back. So now you had this back propagation coming up here, and that really gave that feedback loop. And now there were more insights collected, more intent which was added. And of course, we are now trying to make a neuron which is more adaptable and an algorithm more adaptable. But here is our humble attempt to get to know what is this entire technology was all about. So this is the end of the lectures for all the things that I just wanted to say. Let's just move ahead with a simple understanding of what an Azure can offer to you in terms of a service, right? Now, there's a model training which is happening. So let me just go from the basics. So you'll see the magic of it. It's the same old create button, which is just a magical icon. Like, everything and anything can be created here. So I think there is create table. So let me just do that. And let's not move ahead with any of the things. Of course, there's creating tables. So move ahead. So simple. It's just a machine learning service that I'll be taking care of right now. And we'll be going through Bonsai, which is an reinforcement learning concept, which is always about like architecting different simulations and everything. And we'll go on with the different concepts and Databricks, AutoML, and everything. You will see the magic of it seamlessly. It just works out for any person. And of course, I have a beautiful website written for the cognitive services. Everything will be covered here. So don't worry about it. So we'll just go on with all the demos right now. So right now, I just enter this ML and the same old magic icon. I just start creating it. And you will see that it seamlessly has that automation. Like, what do you call in terms of an ML ops? Like, an attempt to automate all the different processes and the operations that happens in an ML environment is now being automated. Look at the fact that I'm able to take care of the workspace region of that workspace, the storage account, which is going to take care of all the configurations and everything of that ML experiment, the keyword DevSecOps, right? Key vault is here to some extent. So application insight, of course, you need something to monitor all these kind of applications, right? So now you have it. So now a simple move. I just create a new resource group, new MLRG or something. Now I just create it. And the magic of it is I just write one one piece of word saying that what's the name of my workspace, and it just does all the magic for me. It has covered the space for the region. It has, of course, region you can take care. But the fun part about regions is that you won't get the compute instances that is required. So you need to be more agile towards like studying about the regions and where can the compute instance be available for you. If you want a GPU regions, don't choose Australia East, you won't get it. I'll say North Central US. Yeah, I'll come up with that demo as well. So don't worry about that. So storage account has been configured for me. Keyword has been configured. Applications insights has been configured for me. So I need not have to do much. So low code at all, right? So here you have it. So let's see. I want to say North Central US. And I choose that, and there will be an instance. I think that was in the Australia or the other region where I didn't get the GPU instance. So let's just go on with it. So I just configure it and I review the creates, and the create just happens. Let it just get created. We'll go on with that experiment later on as well. So don't worry about that. So I just hit the create, and there you go. The magic moment. Initializing the deployments, submitting the deployments will obviously come right now. And then you will be redirected to something. Of course, submitting deployments came. I can move out from that. That's not a problem. So you will be redirected to something like this. After the deployment gets done and everything, you'll be redirected to something like this. And you just have to just launch your workspace in the studio and you're sorted. Right now, this is where it is. And of course, there is already 2 experiments running. And magic of this, you get notebooks, AutoML designers here. So a designer is nothing but an advanced version of your AutoML. We'll go through that demo as well. So don't worry about that. So it's basically pick and place, pick and place, pick and place. So we'll go on with that demo as well. So of course, a machine learning algorithm, as you saw, there's an input that is required. And now there is a requirement for me to put in a good amount of data set. A good amount of data set is which is required because a computer is just a dumb machine which just takes care of ones and zeros and things like that. And an experiment here is basically giving you that edge to save all the real facts and the artifacts of your entire ML models. So an experiment can have an information of a model, can store a model, version it, and also you can deploy different versions of it, right? Let me just say I just want to just go ahead, and I saw that there is huge amount of models which has been generated, right? I say like, okay, let's just cancel this. And there you have it. There is going to be a cancellation which is happening, and the run just stopped, and you can see that it's been canceled, but yet you have all the models right now here. So we'll go ahead and we can just go on and just click on one of it, and we can say deploy on the web services, and you can go on with Vishwas. And this is happening because there were some artifactories which were stored in the experiment. If it was not there, it wouldn't have happened. And we say that we have to write YAML. Look at the fact I don't have to write anything as an YAML here. I just can go ahead, or else I can just go ahead, deploy it on a container service or some instance. It just does my work so easy, and I can keep it deploy, and we can go ahead with other deployments as well. So this is how the fact that the governance has been taken care, the policy has been taken care seamlessly without you just going through all the hassles of like coding it through your hand and saying that, hey, just take care of all these things that are going to happen in my entire architecture. So it does everything for you. Of course, pipelines is for the DevOps people, like you're truly jacked up about like how to automate 100 deploys a day, just like the Flickr team and the Jam horsepower days and things like that. Just use this. Simple as that. Click, 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 you're done with it. So endpoints are the points where is the repository which takes care of like where should your deployed model set in the form factor of Swaggers, in the form factor of an HTTPS triggers. So it's there right now. And deployment states, it's also being taken care. If it's LT, that means that the model has been deployed. If it's in transition or else it's in some sort of an unhealthy condition, that means the Swaggers or the entity which you were supposed to get ready for the deployment, it's not ready right now. So just go ahead and do that. Similar explanation for all the experiments and everything that we talk here, right? It's still the similar experience that you get in your Databricks as well. So keep that in mind. So I just choose a cluster. I just choose, okay, this is a classification task that I want to look at. And I say that, okay, I just did all these data sets. And look at the fact that, it just automated me everything about the insights that I need to put for a data set, right? I told it's a classification thing, and now it's giving me all different sort of parameters. So I say it's going to be classification task. Just go ahead and run it. You'll see the magic of it because this is a Spark instance. What does a Spark instance do? A simple task. It just scales in and scales out the application. What is it all about? So let's say there is a concept called as Kappa and Lambda architecture. In your Lambda architecture, right? So in your Kappa architecture, there's no streaming layer. It's just processing. It's just batches of layer, which is just coming and processing. So streaming is never taken into consideration. This is where your Kafka, Event Hub, or else anything related to the Kafka, which is there in Azure infrastructure, or else any other cloud flavors doesn't come in. So Lambda is something which just does all these. So it's all about that hot reload and everything. There are advanced concepts for that, so don't worry about it. So this is a Lambda architecture which is hungry for stream layers, right? But there are instances where you want to batch that layer, like you want to store it in one place and you have to train it later. So this is where all these strategies comes into the picture, and Databricks is amazing in terms of all these kind of things. And look at the fact that I didn't do much of a work. Right now, I have all the instances which is covering about the UI of that entire instance, which is saying that here is the code and here is the analysis that you just wanted to do. And it just did for me. I was just talking with you folks, right now, and now I had every insight which was covered. And I'm not joking, many people just go out there and give these notebooks to the Kaggle competitions, and they win the Kaggle competitions and they get some stars and the things like that. So we can't say everything about an ML model which is just coming out right now in front of you, but I can share you some insights here. Because what is the explanation that I give you? A simple explanation goes back here as well. So let me just click on it. You can see that this entire code, which just took this pipeline or the framework, which has this sklearn, which is still a scikit-learn algorithm. So fun fact, scikit-learn GSOC project. So it's a GSOC project. So the guy who invented it, sorry, his name is David, author, scikit-learn author. So it's a David now. So this started as a Google Summer of Code project in 2007, and today it's a fully furbished project for all the production environment that you can see. Yes, it's still used in some of the production systems as well. So you just saw the magic, right? I didn't write any code here, but everything was being sorted for me. Right now, if I just click on all these things, you can see that it just did all the different functionalities for me. And of course, one-hot encoding is just like you're just saying to your neural network that, hey, algorithm, just go and classify it as 1 or 0, thinking about like, which is that category. So we have all these categories, like, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 categories were selected, and to which does it belong to? And there are different matrices for it as well. So everything was taken care of here. I just look at the fact that, I just did it in 5 minutes, and look at the fact that I was able to write all these kind of an code without me writing a single line of a code. And I can use all these models which are there here with respect to this notebook as well. Simple. You just go here, click on it. You just get the same old same old deployment code which is there here for you. You can register a model. You can use them again. Simple as that. So just go here, look at the YAML of it, or else just download this. And of course, you have that ml.model, everything. So it's a model.pickle. You can just download it from here. So simple move that I just did. And I just have the deployed model right now in front of me. Similar explanation for this as well. Just go click on this auto ML. Right now, you'll see the magic of it. Probably something that's been created and an explanation of all of things, right? There is a notebook which is already generated and saying what are all the neural networks and the algorithm which was taken care here, as well as the matrices which was taken care here, right? All of this is what you do in the ML flow experiment as well. And right now, automated, everything is automated for you. So you can go on to the models as well. Click on this explanation, you'll have the same old explanation which will be coming for you. So there is no difference between the two platforms that you're using in the Azure, right? It's still going to be the same thing in the other cloud as well. So just go ahead. And you can see all the different...
Vishwas,
Yeah.
there is a question basically. I mean, while you were speaking about neural networks, I think somebody wanted to understand what is neural networks is.
So basically, a neural network is just an algorithm which just does all the math which was supposed to be done by a brain, but in a form factor of all these matrices, hyperparameters, which is just taken care from some scientists back there, and there's a data flow, and they just take care of that insight and intent. There's nothing magical and mystical about it. It's still the same old algorithm that you write in your DSA and algo. We still consider the order of computation. We still consider the ways in which we are uh, writing the code, the functionality of the code, but yet it's termed as a neural network, which is a black box functionality of the brain that we are trying to simulate on a system. That's a simple definition for a neural network. It's not that complex, just simple as that.
So just for my understanding, okay. So if at all any person who want to get started with this, right? So how does he get started? So he just needs a data set, and just take that
Yeah.
data set and just go to any of this platform like the AutoML, and just add all of these data sets and train the model. That is what you're doing, right? So you're
Yeah,
training
yeah.
it and then getting it started. Okay.
So anybody who is very new probably can take this notebook, just start
Can you
working
just
on
can
all.
you just show those step again, like how people can add a data set and train the
Simple as
model?
that. Oh yeah, it's easy. I was coming for that itself. It's all
Okay.
about the explanation and everything. So simple as that. Click on the neural network which you have right now. Just click on this AutoML thing. There's a new data set that you can add. There are different options for it. From the data store, if you have it in your model, you can just do that. So web files can also be added. If you have it in a form factor of a new URL, just go ahead and just click it down here. You'll just have it. And there are some open data sets as well. So basically, I would say like just go ahead and start with this open data set. Simple as that. Choose any of it. Like I can choose diabetes. I can click on it and create it, and you will have some sort of an insight about what's the kind of a data set that has to happen. Like if you think of all these, it's all clean data set that I showed in front of you. I just had that I think I can share you one of my repository which is just having all the examples there. So wait, github.com/netflix/ there is a CSV file that I just collected for learning like long ago, I think. So it's a CSV data sets. So there are different data sets that we just had to clean it and we just have to give it. So computer is dumb, right? It doesn't understand anything that you just do. So it needs to be cleaned. It needs to be done with all these different processes. So let me just show you how that process is also taken care in the AutoML here. So as soon as you click on it, you select the file storage, let's say clean data. I just press the next and I choose something as a browser here. Like I just say, this is my data file. And look at the fact that I can skip the validation, but if I want to have some sort of a validation and I have to make sure that the features are right in here and things like that. So you can just click on it and everything will be sorted. So you need not have to do much. You can go to any of the notebooks or any of the data set, just see how's the structure of it, and then start with it. So, and also there is a cheat sheet that we always go through. So reading data set in sklearn. So we all do that. We all do this for sure. Like we just go through some public data sets which are there. First we test on it and we just move ahead with all these flexibility that we have right now. We need not have to pioneer the ways of collecting the data set. So anybody can start from anywhere, but choose a public data set, start working towards it, then gradually move towards the feature extraction, feature engineering part of that data science, which is much more complex. That's 90% of the work, 10% is the algorithm here. So just move ahead with that, then take another step saying that I'm going to use some sort of an algorithm. So if you are so fancy about it, there is something called as base estimators in sklearn. So you guys can go that and you can write your own algorithm and you can tune it, play with it, play around with it, and things like that. Or else there is always an AutoML platform which is there for you to do all this work, explaining you the data set, what are the models which was required, everything about the matrices which you can collect over a course of time, everything will be given to you. So start with that step of using a public data set which is already available in some sort of a framework, then move gradually towards the feature engineering by collecting your own data set and doing all of the things, and also move towards using all these ML blocks and all these other AutoML frameworks, then move ahead with all of that. So it becomes much more easier for you so that you don't get overwhelmed and say that, okay, this is too complex for me. That's a simple step. You can't do anything apart from that. It's complex at the end of the day. If you are too much into computer vision, I can say you there's something called as visual data. I think this is the one. No, not this one. Data set, computer vision. So you guys can go here and check out plethora of data sets which were used in some or the other papers or else which is being given out by some or the other companies or the institution like McGill universities or anybody. You know, it's all a clean, chiseled up data set. You can start building your own models on this. Or else there is also something called as code with paper. So paper with code, sorry, not the code with paper. So you guys can go see all these code and the paper and the data set. You will get an understanding of how not complex it is, but how complex we make it. So these are some of the hacks that you can really just start with and then pioneer ways above and above so that you can learn it. Like even the best scientists learn every single day. So we can't help that for sure. So let's just move on with this demo, sir, Vivek, so I can get on with other things as well.
Yes. Yes.
Sure. So all these kind of an automation has already been done. So look at that. You know, the data set which I had was different. Now I have a set different. And now do all these next. All the things about this data set has been taken care automatically, right? You can do profiling, but it takes a lot of time for it. So don't do that. So you can cancel it or else you can just wait for it. It will be there for you. Click on any one of it. Like let's say I'm just going to click on the sample diabetes data set and look at the magic of it. It knows all the different parameters that has to be added onto a data set. What I'm showing you is the step from here in which you are ingesting the data set. You're saying pandas, it's a framework, that's a file system. Just go and read that CSV and put it in these data frames. Data frames is another concept which just stores the data. That's it. How data stores the data. Here the data frame stores the data. And right now, you got all the instances about it. And you're good to go right now. You can train as many models as you want. So yes, so it knows that there has to be a new experiment or an existing. So I just give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 or something. Let me just say there's a column. It knows that, right? There's an age, sex was considered as male or female, body mass index was considered, blood pressure, and there are different S1, S2, S3 matrices. But Y is an output matrix which says that whether he has diabetes or whether he doesn't have diabetes. That's what that data set was. And you can choose any of the compute instance, click on that compute instance, and a simple trick, create a compute instance first, then go on with an experiment, because it's going to take a lot of time to initiate a compute instance for you, right? So you need that for sure. Or else you just create it and you can just go and create a new compute cluster here, just refresh it, and you will be good to go with a compute cluster, which is enough to run an ML model here. So next, fact that it just took away and it knows that it is a classification problem statement. What is a classification problem statement? It's simple as that. It's just saying this or that. Let's say 1 represents diabetic. I'm saying hypothetically. Tick, and 0 represents non-diabetic here. And I want my neural network model that I just gave up, or else an algorithm, let me just say it as an algorithm, to give me insights on this entire information that I've given. So there is consideration of different matrices like BMI, skin thickness, and all these things. But learn all these parameters and say that whether this guy is diabetic or non-diabetic. And so right now, this is what classification was all about. And if I go back and if I change any of the matrices, saying that, let's say S5 matrix, and it goes to regression, and it knows that there is a flow of different kind of a data points that is coming up, which is not ones and zeros, or else which is saying spam or ham. Like, it's one of the classification models that you can look at. And right now you just had it in front of you, right? That's where the problem statements are assigned to you. And the fact that even if I choose it, it's just going to say me with an error saying that this is a classification task which is not going to be feasible for you. And the fact that it understood the database schema, this is what we work towards every single day. Like, every single day we need to work towards that, like understanding what is that insight in a data set. And the fact that it just changed, I changed it to Y and it changed, and I just can train it. And there is different ways in which you can send a data set inside a neural network model or else an algorithm. So it's already being automated from me. Let's not waste time. Let's just go to already trained models, which is already there for me right now. So it's an automated ML. And I had canceled some of it. And that time when I was just showing you some of the demos. Now this is a completed one. And I can go to a model and I can see this has an explanation, right? Okay, so I can infer from this that, okay, this is going to fetch me a lot of money if I deploy it on any of the production environment. So what I do is simple as that. I click on this. And also a simple trick, you can download these models and you can use it locally, and Azure will not charge you later on. You can delete this experiment as well. So it's a simple move that you just did right now, and you just had everything sorted. What I just did was I just told click on the deploy. I just clicked on the deploy and I said, I'm going to take a web service right now. I don't want a real-time endpoint. It's still in a preview. You guys can use that as well. But it's still going to be the same old ACI and everything. But I am just going to go for an web deployment. So I'm going to say Vishwas. And I'm going to say ACI. Okay, it's already there. So I just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7 is my last term for my GitHub. So of course I chose compute instance, which is an Azure container instance right now. So I need not have to have that hassle of Kubernetes and everything. You can use a custom deployment asset, but it's of no use to you right now. So just go ahead, click on it. You're good to go right now. So what you did as an entire demo, which was supposed to be done with all these different frameworks and the technologies that you had that hassle of like, can I really learn all of this and I can do it? All these AutoML frameworks just did it to you in a minute. Like, it's just in a minute. Like, you just saw that there's a model which is already built and I'm just using it right now. And that's the beauty of this kind of a framework and things like that. And of course, I clicked on the endpoint again, and I'm just wanting to see where is my model instance. And now it's saying me it's healthy. That means that the model is ready to be deployed. Click on it. You'll be entering a Swagger, and also you can click on this as well. So you can go ahead and click on all these kind of links, and you can start deploying the models. And you need not have to go on with the hassle of telling the postman to do this or that, right? There's an option called as test. Click on it. There's a JSON editor. You guys can go ahead and click on any of that model. So this was for a model which was spam or a ham. I can show you the other model which is already there. So let's say I just do this. So it doesn't give me, that's not a problem. But the fact that you can consume the model even afterwards with all different language options and code given to you is one of the best options that you can ever ask for any person. Like today, let me just see whether this is in the transitioning state. Probably this is going to happen in some few minutes. And look at the fact that, I didn't do much of a work, but I was able to just get all these kinds of codes and everything sorted for me, right? This to me is the state of the art AutoML and the low code and the no code platforms, because it's just eases my work out. It just says me which algorithm is the best in my experiment, and I need not have to go through the hassle of building whether this model works for me, that model works for me. It need not have to work out for me. I can say that I'm going to give you all the money. I'm going to give you some amount of freedom to just say whether this data is good or bad. Yes, you can give the freedom to all these platforms to say whether the platform is good or bad in terms of getting the data, and you have everything sorted for you. So this is where you can take the state of the art ML and the AI on an AutoML with a low code and no code platforms. Let's say whether that thing model has been transitioned into healthy state. If it's in a healthy state, we can see the deployment as well. So it's a simple move. It need not have to have that much of an hassle. It's just like you're just creating all these instances, and you can see the logs of all the things, right? Perfect for me. I think this has been transitioned. Let's see. Of course, it's in a healthy state now, so I can test it, and I can say whether there was 0 pregnancies, and let's say there's some matrices that I just give off right now. Probably it's going to give me out of the range because, sorry, but blood pressure can't be that much. Let's say 150, skin thickness, let's say 45. It's too skinny, not skinny, and she's fat. So let's say 150 in the thing, BMI, let's say 56. Diabetic, let's say that mattress will always be in the range of 0 to 1. So let's say it's 654. Age, let it be around 30. Let's see. All right. So it says 0. That means that he is non-diabetic at the end of the day, but there is no prediction which is happening. That's fine. This is an AutoML model which just told me all the deployments. And of course, you get the freedom of choosing it to deploy with using a code. Just do that. It's already here for you. So this is what an AutoML looks like in a fancy term without any sort of a code. Like I just wrote 0 code here. It generated all the code for me. And of course, you can go to that portal where you had all the codes, and you can see all the different models that you had built on. And you can also say test results of this, output logs. It's basically the set of codes which were used for running. Everything about your AutoML, everything is there in front of you right now. So this is the magic of it. You didn't write the code, but somehow that abstraction was understood by some person, and you just had that in your hand right now. all the both the sides. When you have the Spark workload on a database which is doing a lot of these kind of automation for the ML processes, plus this still remains the same. And let's just go to the open source version of it so that we get a very intuitive understanding about this entire framework. Let me just explain you one, and you guys will start explaining me the other ones as well. So of course, I just used an open source AutoML framework from Microsoft, which is Flamel. If you just guys can just go and Google it and say Flamel GitHub or something. Oh, sorry. But from the Microsoft, it's an open source library for the AutoML, and it does seamless translation for all these codes and everything. Like if the data is not that well of an chiseled one, like it's not being feature engineered the proper way, it just does the same old thing. And all these frameworks, they just do the same old thing. Like they just take the data set and they are just doing it. So as a ritual, this is a boilerplate code from the sklearn. So I think this was train test split or something previously in your sklearn itself, but now it became op selection. It was something called as cross validation. Yes, sklearn.cross validation train test split, but today it's model selection. So you guys can see that how seamlessly that train test split is happening with low code itself, like sklearn.model selection train test split, and you just have this sort of a code here. So this does all the magic to you, right? It need not have to do much of the work. You just throw in that entire data set and it just did its work. So I just use the public data set, which is iris data set, which is saying the sepal length, the petal length of the flower. Don't worry, what's a flower? Flower, sepal and petal. Flower, sepal and petal. So if you can see that, this is the geometry of it, and this is going to say what is that sort of an iris flower that we are looking at, right? So there are plethora of iris flowers that are always there. So sepal and petal length and other parameters were considered, and that was noted as a data set. Of course, that's a UCI iris data set, Irvine University. So that's basically this entire repository which has it. So you guys can go check out the other data sets as well. There is cancer, breast cancer. I think there was breast cancer. Oh yeah, wine, iris, wine quality, heart diseases, breast cancer was. Oh yeah, here is it, the breast cancer data set. I think I've used one of it. So let's just go to that demo. So what I just did was the same old train test split, right? No, I'm just saying that, there's an abundant data set within me. And I'm saying that, just make sure that I keep some for training and some for testing and some for validating. And that's what I did over a course of time. And that was very horrifying. Like that experience was so bad for a computer vision problem statement, but sklearn made it much more easier with all these functionalities. So validation comes in only when you are going to give a paper and you're not supposed to give any sort of false result. That is where validation comes into the picture. So what I just did was I just divided into data set, and your X test is an annotation. So your X test is basically annotation. So even your Y test is also going to fall under the category of annotation, but these two are going to be the data. Oh, sorry for that. Data sets. So this is what the magic of it. It just seamlessly separated out the data set, which is required for training and the testing, and it just gave out that entire difference. So it's all that. So again, we just go ahead with the same old procedures of writing all these diagrams and everything. So what I just did was the same old notebook thing, and I just copied and pasted some, and I just changed some of the tweaks here, and I know all of these which is changing. So now the magic
Question
of
here
the
is
Yeah.
Vishwas, I have a question. So, do you have to write this code, or um, is it something which comes through the framework?
No, it doesn't come through the framework. You have to
You
select
have to
that
write it.
code and you have to write it. So that's what I was saying. It's all about like how do you pioneer that way? Like you know that you have to split and train that data. Like how are you going to strategize it? So you can use sklearn. You can use different labeling tools like Label Studio, CVAT, and there are other tools as well. So when you are going to annotate the data, separate it out, this is where you are going head, right? So all these code, you have to just choose it. So it's already available in the documentation. Just go ahead, cut, copy, paste. Simple as that. So I also did the same thing. I didn't do much. It's a boilerplate code which is already available. Just go and cut, copy, paste it.
Got it.
So I think that's the thing. So it's a last 10 minutes thing. I'll just move out. Sorry, folks. So very simple. What I did was, okay, there is an AutoML pipeline, and now we have separated out different data sets, right? Let's just go and train it off. So now this AutoML.time budget setting, it's going to do all the time budgeting. Matrices are going to do all the matrices. And of course, there is an estimator list which comes with the picture saying that which algorithm is going to be much more feasible for me, right? And this is where you have that magic of it. So it did all the work for me. And look at the magic of this code. It just got to know that the best estimator is an XGBoost with an best error rate of 0.05 or something. And there is always this light GBM model and things like that. So there are different algorithms. So it just did a seamless transition for me. It just told me that, hey, I'm going to throw you all the algorithms which are going to be better. Just use it, whichever you want. And of course, if you go down the line, there is a set of code that I've written for which is the best learned parameters and everything. And you can see that XGBoost was the best, and there is a different matrices which comes into the picture. We can't see that in 1 hour, but it's just that matrices that I'm just giving. So just go out and just explore this XGBoost. You will get to know everything about it. So AutoML.model, of course, it just gave out some insights. And I saved the model in the same old pickle format, and it's ready to be deployed as well. So it did the same old Y prediction and the X predictions here. So it's just that evaluation that you're just doing right now in order to say, okay, I had a model right now, what can I do with it? So other things in the same old notebook still remains the same. It's the same old logic that applies for all these. Just look at it. So X and Y. So there is a different way of doing it as well. So I just did this. So the train test split, I just did the same old step here. This is going to be the data set, and this is going to be the annotations that I'm just taking here. And perfect. I'm now sorted with all of these things. So eval-ML also does the same thing. It's just the movement of some syntaxes here and there, and everything seamlessly gives me that result. And the best part, it just gives me with this organized table. Like I can get to know, okay, there's an mean variance and all these kinds of validation that I have to do, which has been done by this model. Let me just look at which is the best one here. So you can just get to know all of these things, which is just bound to you, and you can just start building all these models. And of course, there are other frameworks as well. So let's just skip this. It's all the same old thing that I did in this notebook. Just called that API. It's basically API Jugaad. I can say this proudly. It's API Jugaad. I just did that with all of these things, and it just seamlessly worked for me. So just take this notebook, just start studying. There's an amazing concept called as bonsai. I just need to do that because it's reinforcement learning. One of my favorite topics recently. So bonsai. It's very simple. It just requires one click of and central IoT Central, and everything will be sorted for you. Portal.azure.com. Sorry, typo. Portal.azure.com. And look at the fact that an entire simulation in front of you was done seamlessly. Like, you'll be amazed by different matrices that I trained on, and what are all the different matrices that I'm considering, and where are these matrices going and sitting. Everything was being seamlessly taken care from this. So it's a pocket rocket for you. Like, it's like boom, you just know what's the simulation of it. So let's just go on with that demo. Let me just do Bonsai first, then we'll go on with the configuration of the IoT center as well. So Bonsai is very simple. Click, that magical button comes into the picture, and let me just say new demo 1, 2, 3, 4 or something. And let me just say Vishwas Narayan demo, and look at the magic. It requires IoT Central. Basically, IoT Central gives you all different services that is required by you in order to not to do that hassle of plugging in the hardware and things like that. You just seamlessly get an access to a simulation which just behaves as good as that hardware itself. So IoT Central has many options out there. We'll just go on with that. So I think so very simple. I would say custom because there's a lot of things that I can configure there as well. So of course I choose subscription, resource group. Let me just say new 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is a standard plan, there is an S0 plan, which is free tier and some paid ones. So free tier, paid ones. So you just choose it. So free tier, if you choose, that's also fine. And you get the plethora of all these options that is just there for you. You get the solar power monitoring system, you get water quality monitoring system. That's a simulation, right? You can do anything with it. So let me just say custom application because it's a Bonsai application right now. So you can choose any regions. It works the similar way. Like, of course, latency will be there, but now it's a demo. So you can go to all these things and you can just go click on it. I think this was one of the water pressure monitoring system. I think that was there from the Azure. You guys can go check that out. So that's always there. So what you can do is you can just click on that Azure application which you just clicked upon. Like, say that this was a custom application, right? I can just use that again. That's not a problem because it requires one IoT central application. That's it. I create it and boom, you just have an Bonsai created for you. So it just creates, just give it some time. It just creates on its own. Everything will be sorted. Sorry for that. Where did this go? So I can choose any of it. So it's very simple. It's just reinforcement learning concepts. It's just a baby that you're just trying to simulate. So what's a reinforcement learning? So reinforcement is basically a definition for reward and policy. Policy here is the learning that just happens seamlessly. Like, you just say that a car is here, just goes and crashes to another wall or something, and that score is 0, and the car doesn't stop with all its actuation command. It just went through that obstacle and you just give it a 1. So that's a reward system that you are just creating right now. So in fact, in reinforcement learning, you are supposed to architect two networks. This is reward and the policy network. So policy is where the learning happens, reward is where you are writing the rules. So you know that this is the set of rules that it needs to follow, and it needs to generate its own command and needs to start working. Basically, it's just a baby. It's like the baby just goes and bumps on somebody and it just falls down, and it learns that it's going to make me fall, and the next time it doesn't do that. A simple explanation for a baby. And now you take all these examples of all these. So carpool, I think Sendex. There's a guy called a Sendex. About YouTube. Sendex, he did carpool reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning, carpool reinforcement learning. I think his name was Sendex. You guys can look at that. He did an entire operational application of all these card pool and everything. Like it was already there from the TensorFlow RT team, but he just enhanced it with his own applications and all these parameters that he just tuned on. It's very good. Like you guys can just go and do that. But now I need to know how to do all of this. It's just a click, and I say that Vishwas wants to learn how the card tool works, and the brain will be created for me. So that brain was created, and there's a version one of it, right? So it just gives me that card tool. And the fun fact, you can go to MATLAB and you can start simulating all these kind of an application. You get all these different modules which are already written by the MATLAB team with support of the Azure Bonsai, and you can start modeling all these. So there are different models that you can look at, and there are different examples that you can look at. This is the card pool that I'm just working on right now. You can also look at the chemical process optimization. This takes a little bit of time to load, but the magic of this entire infrastructure that is given from Azure is that seamless automation happens. You can connect it with any of the logical or the simulation tools like uh, AnyLogic, Simulink from the MATLAB, or else the other applications are also available. I can show you that.
Hey Vishwas,
So
we have only 1 minute left.
sure. I'll just move ahead right now. So all these applications are just working to you seamlessly. And look at the fact that I can just go ahead and say, I'm just going to change some parameters. Like let's say 5.4. I want to train it. This is going to be a new version for it, and this is going to train it. And of course, there are different results that I already had. You guys can just go and see that how much was the goal satisfaction that happened, how much was the award of the follower का मतलब how much was the time, how many times that it went to fall, and how many times it was being avoiding out of the range. That means how many times the out of the range movement was taken. Like it just has to move like this, and it has to move like this. And how many times did it happen? It's 100 times. And already you guys just did 40,000 plus iterations. And that's the magic of this, right? You just wrote some code here, and you just had to train something. And there's similar logic connected to any of the simulation files that you just generated, and you're good to go. And of course, this is still in the preview. Wait for it. A lot of things to hop inside your infrastructure of Bonsai. And that's it from my side, folks. I think I've shared all the link, and we just can move ahead with the other questions that you had, and anything you can just move on.
Uh, there are not much questions. Let people reach out to you if they have any questions.
Sure.
They will reach out because Ashwad is waiting. I just want to bring in
Sure.
Ashwad. It's
Thank you so much,
already
folks.
dinner time for him. So
Sure.
not sure about you because you sleep at 3:30 a.m. and I'm not sure. Okay, thank you for being here,
Thank you so
Vishwas.
much, folks.
Thanks
Thank you,
for the
sir.
nice demo. And let me bring Ashwad. Not wasting much
Bye.
time here.
Hey Vivek, how are you?
Good. How are you, Ashwad? Yes, I know it's almost late evening for you. We have lost 3 to 4 minutes as well. So, without wasting much time, I'll just introduce you to the audience. Um, Ashwad, okay, is a consultant, associate consultant at Microsoft, and I was reading his first book, and it was just 15 days. I was reading his first book, and boom, he announces his second book. So I'm yet to complete your first book, and you already have your second book. So that's super fast. And obviously the books are on data and also on serverless offering. uh, Interesting one, and we both will do a readout of the book as well in some days. I'm hoping we will do that as well. And yeah, I mean, he's been amazing in community, Azure community leader. A lot of things he has done in terms of uh, .NET and Azure Logic Apps. I've heard him talk about Logic Apps a lot many times, and even in book he has mentioned a lot of things about that as well. So Ashwad, floor is yours. You know, and I know that this specific talk is more on how after doing a meetup you can share your coupons to people who attend. This is not real. It's a demo. I just want to call out that and this will be interesting as well for people because we are going to have in-person events, I believe. I hope this is going to open up sooner or later, and once it is open, I think your tool will be helpful for all the community organizers, right?
Definitely. And first of all, thank you, Vivek, for a wonderful introduction. And I really hope that you're enjoying the book. And secondly, he did give you a spoiler alert about the whole talk. I didn't want to talk a lot about what's there in the demo. I wanted to keep it as a suspense. But nevertheless, now that you people already know that, there's something that we are going to build, which is going to make the life of community organizers easier. I hope you all will be tuned in and stay till the end of the talk. Without further ado, let's probably we can get started with the talk. Vivek, just give me a heads up uh, when the presentation is up on the screen.
It's up.
Wonderful. So let's get started. So as you all know, the talk is about building low-code workflows with Azure Logic App. So I know you have heard a lot about how to build low-code solutions using Power Automate, how you can build AI-based solutions, and a lot of things today. So what we are going to talk in this whole presentation today is going to be pretty layman kind of a thing. It's more like an introductory and getting started session for you. So in this talk, you're going to learn what logic apps are and how you can build workflows to solve your business cases or some scenarios by the help of logic app. So before getting started with the whole session, I just wanted to give you a small introduction about myself. Though Vivek has covered a lot of things, I work as an associate consultant at Microsoft. Most of my work has been around ASP.NET Core. I'm a certified Azure Developer Associate and as well as a C# Corner MVP. I manage a couple of communities as mentioned here. And you can always reach out to me at these links. So you can find all my repos, all my code bases, whichever I do for my demos or maybe my blogs at my GitHub repository. You can connect with me on LinkedIn using my the LinkedIn URL that I mentioned over here, as well as I do write a couple of times in my website, Code with Asirad. So you can always go there and have a look at some of my recent blogs. So I haven't been really active over there. My bad, but I'll definitely be active over there. So alternatively, if you wanted to connect with me over Twitter, this is my Twitter handle at the rate Ashirwad underscore 1998. So as Vivek mentioned, these are the two books which I've authored. One is on Azure Functions and the other is on Azure Platform. So if you wanted to get a copy of them, these are the links which you can follow to get a copy of it. So let's get started with the agenda of the talk. A lot of discussion has already
You
happened. What I do and
you're
yeah.
not blogging because you're converted that into books.
You can say that. You can say that. A lot of content has become proprietary now. So yeah, let's get started with the agenda. So we're gonna kickstart the whole session by talking about what logic apps are. Then we will just have a quick introduction about actions, connectors, and triggers. So I'm just going to give you an overview because this is going to be a lightning talk, and I don't want to keep you waited on a Friday evening. So then we'll have a small demo on actions and triggers. Then we are going to have a look at the problem statement. So Vivek has already shared the problem statement that we are going to solve. So we are going to solve it, and then finally we are going to have a Q&A. So before diving into Logic App, we should know what are workflows. So if you go by the definition, workflows can be any business process or sequence of tasks that produce a specific result. Very technical, right? Let's keep it simple. Let's say that you wanted to make some tea. You follow a set of process, right? You get a pan, you put some water, then some milk, then some tea powder or maybe tea leaves, then some sugar, then boil it for a certain set of time, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, till it boils and the tea is ready. Then you serve it and give it to someone whomever you want to give it, or you can have it by your own, right? Nobody's stopping you there. So this is a workflow. You do a sequence of tasks to achieve a business result. So here the business result is to make a tie and serve it to make a tea and serve it to someone, right? So this is what a workflow is. So I hope you can relate with the analogy that I gave you. So that was workflow. So what are logic apps? So logic apps helps you build workflows using logic app designer. And you don't need to know any code. You don't need to write a lot of code to build solutions for these workflows. So let's understand what logic app is, apart from that that it is a tool which helps us build workflows. So logic app is an iPaaS. So what is an iPaaS? So iPaaS are moreover like a platform which helps you standardize ways to connect different services. Let's say that you wanted to connect with Twitter, and once a particular action is done in Twitter, you wanted to send a mail. Let's say that Vivek tagged me in one of his tweet. I want to know it. So what I'll do is that I'm going to quickly create a logic app which will have a trigger from whenever a tweet is tweeted with this particular person or tagging this particular person, send an email using let's say my send an email to my Outlook account or maybe Gmail account, whichever I can configured. So these kind of things, this is what iPaaS are. So it has a per action billing. So per action billing is as I told you in my previous example, in making a tea we do a lot of steps. So each step is an action here. So you're going to be billed on a per action basis. So like the time you put in sugar, that's the action you're going to pay. You're going to bill for that. So you wanted to boil some water, is an action, so you're going to build for that. So in the Twitter example, so every time you are getting some tweets or you are polling something, there's an action. Whenever that action happened, you're going to be billed. And now you're sending a mail, so sending a mail is an action, you're going to get billed for that. But you are not billed for the amount of time uh, the whole logic app is staying idle if you're going with the consumption mode, right, which is the serverless mode. So next is highly scalable. You don't need to worry about scaling up and down your logic apps. Don't need to worry about the underlying infrastructures and everything. The next thing is it has a lot of connectors. As I told you that a logic app is an iPaaS, so it basically helps you standardize the way in which you can connect with different services and do some sort of actions. So different services provides a wrapper. So connectors are more of like a wrapper which lets you connect with different services. So we're going to talk briefly about connectors in a later slide. So let's see what else logic app brings into the table. These are extensible. So let's say that there is a particular, you have built your own custom SaaS offering, but it's not available in Azure. There are no existing connectors in Azure which helps you connect with your SaaS app. So how do you do that? So if you have REST APIs or SOAP APIs, what you can do is that you can create your custom connector and use it in Logic App. So it's highly extensible, and you can write it once and use it often by the help of your ARM templates. So it has an easy to use design tool that is Logic App Designer, which we're going to have a look at during the demo. So let's get started with some of the key terminologies that you need to know before getting started with Logic Apps. So the first thing is connectors. In the previous slide, you saw that I was talking about what connectors are. I gave a couple of examples about connectors and actions. So what are connectors? So connectors are basically wrappers of a particular service. Let's say that you're using Azure Service Bus to as a message broker, and you're storing your messages over there and consuming it later. So let's say that you want to start this logic app whenever a particular message gets into the service bus queue, or else you want to consume whatever messages are there inside the service bus queue. So all these actions are there. So typically when we want to connect with the service bus, we use the underlying SDKs or client libraries or as the REST APIs. Similarly, for service bus, we have a set of connectors which act as a wrapper for all these REST APIs, which allow us to do all these set of operations, like connecting to a service bus queue, getting all the messages from it, or sending a message to the service bus queue. So this is what a connector is, just a wrapper. Then a connector basically consists of two type of actions or tasks. One are triggers and the other are actions. So what are triggers? Triggers are are more of a set of events which starts a particular business workflow. So let's say that you want to do a certain set of actions. Let's say that you want to do a certain set of actions whenever somebody whenever the temperature of Bangalore goes below 20 degrees Celsius, you want to send an alert to that particular business. So let's say that you want to send an alert to that particular business. So what are triggers?
I think, hello, Ashivad, you there? I think we lost Ashivad. Just let's give it a minute or time. Uh,
I just got lost a bit for a couple of seconds, I guess, Vivek. I'll just say.
yeah.
So let's say that you wanted to send an email whenever the temperature of Bangalore goes below 20 degrees Celsius. Here, this event is going to be the trigger, and whatever action follows are actions. So you want to send an email, you want to send an SMS alert, whatever that is, that's going to be an action. Apart from that, you have a special kind of actions in Logic App which are control workflow. Let's say that you want to do some checks like whether the temperature is actually above 20 degrees Celsius or not. So you can use a if else kind of control workflow to check whether it's true or false, whether the statement is true or false, or else if you want to iterate through something, you have a for each activity which you can do it. There's also a switch activity. So there are a lot of things there, but these are the key terminology that you should be aware when you're getting started with Logic Apps. So once you know that, you're pretty good to get started. So there are two things in connector. There are some built-in connectors, there are some managed connectors. So I'm not going to give you a very deep understanding of it, but consider that built-in connectors don't need to create a connection to play around or to solve something or to connect with a particular service, because these are native. They can natively run in the Logic App runtime without creating a connection. Some examples are calling an Azure function activity, or maybe some of the data operations like passing a JSON, those kind of things. While managed connectors are something which are developed and managed by Microsoft, and basically these are for all the third-party services as well as some of the services of Microsoft, like Office 365, SharePoint, Salesforce, Dynamic 365, Outlook 365. So all this to connect with these services, you need to create an action. See, typically when we use SDKs to connect with a third-party service, we need to create a connection, right? We get the API key of that particular connection, and then we consume it, create a client, and do all sort of operations. Similarly, here also you need to create a connection. So with managed connectors, you basically need to create a connection. With built-in, you don't need to do it. So that's a simple example, simple difference between these two things. So some examples of built-in connectors are the schedule one. So schedule trigger is schedule is basically a trigger which runs which acts like a recurring trigger, and it runs every 5 minutes. We can configure the timing, the cron job expressions, like whether it needs to run every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour, 6 hours. You do that. There's one for HTTP. So let's say that you want to start a workflow whenever you receive an HTTP request, HTTP post or put request. You want to do something, you can do that. There's one for request, there's one for Azure API management, and then we have the managed ones. So these are for Azure Service Bus, SQL Server, Outlook 365, SharePoint Online. So these are some of the examples. Now, what are triggers? We have previously discussed that trigger is basically event that occurs when a specific set of conditions satisfied. They can activate automatically when conditions are met. Bit technical, but I hope you already got what triggers are from the previous slides. So there are these are some of the examples of triggers. So recurrence trigger is part of the schedule connector. When a HTTP request is received, is part of the request connector. Choose an Azure API management trigger is part of the Azure API management connector. And then one we have for Adobe Creative Cloud, and for all the multi-cloud fans, we also have one where you can start a workflow when something goes to an Amazon S3 bucket as well. Then we have our Azure queues. So whenever a message comes to Azure queue, you can also start a workflow. So these are some examples of triggers. There are a couple of type of triggers. I'm quickly gonna get you through the types of triggers. So one is the recurrence triggers. So these are basically like cron job tasks. So let's say that these tasks will run every day at a particular defined interval, or maybe at a particular time. let's say it needs to start at every day at 12 p.m. or 11 a.m. and they'll do it, or they need to run every 7 days. Then we have polling triggers. So these are triggers for specific system or services which poll that particular service every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever is the frequency, or maybe 30 seconds, and they will check whether something new happened. Whether something new happened, if it didn't, then nothing happens. If it happened, then they start the workflow and do it. One example is when like I previously told you, I wanted to start a workflow when Vivek mentions me in one of his tweets, or tags me in one of his tweets. So we will be using the Twitter connector, and we'll use it when a tweet has this hashtag or something kind of a trigger, and we'll do it. So that's an example of a polling trigger. Then we have push triggers. So these triggers are moreover like they act whenever they get a request. We can take an example of a webhook. We are gonna see an example of the push trigger later during the demos. So now that we are done with triggers, let's quickly go into actions. So what are actions? As I told you, action is can be any task which achieves a particular business process, or maybe gives us a result. So if you go by the technical definition, an action is an operation that executes a task in a business process. There are various type of actions that are there in connectors. So I just wanted to give you an heads up. A connector can have multiple actions, but it's not mandatory for a connector to have a trigger. So connectors are bound to have actions, but triggers are optional. So the request connector has the response action. Azure function connector has the choose an Azure function action. Daytime has current time, current date kind of an actions. Amazon S3 has get S3 blob content action. It also had a trigger which we discussed in the previous slide. Then for Azure blob storage, we have a lot many actions, but I just mentioned one, that is create blob. Then you can also have you also have connector to connect with an Azure app service. Let's say that you want to shut down your service every weekend on every Saturday morning and start it again at Monday morning. So you can do that with the help of the start web app action of the Azure app service connector. You can also create files in box, Dropbox, all sort of different storage services using this, even Google Drive as well. So please do explore it after the talk. So that's all about actions. We talked a lot of stuff about Logic App. Let's do some demos. So we are going to quickly do a demo on triggers and action by building a workflow to send an email. And then we are going to build up on this particular demo to solve the problem statement that we are discussing early on when we started the whole talk. So let me quickly share my Chrome tab. I hope everybody is pretty psyched about this topic, and I'm talking in a good way. Right, Vivek?
Yeah, but I don't see anything.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
sharing.
have you
I'm
shared?
sharing my. Yeah,
Okay,
think you should be
okay.
able to see it now. Okay,
I've just
so
added.
to
Yeah.
create. Perfect. So to create an right now I'm in my Azure portal. So to follow along with this demo, the only thing that you need is basically an Outlook account. You can also do it with your Gmail account, no restrictions, but I'm using Outlook for this demo. Next, you need an active Azure subscription. The next thing that you need is some time and good internet. So let's get started with the demo. So let's search for Logic App over here. So you can obviously search over here, and I'm going to click on Logic Apps to create our Logic app. So the thing is, it's not mandatory to build your Logic apps in Portal. There are other options as well. You can build your Logic apps using VS Code as well as Visual Studio. I'm going to do this demo in the Portal itself. So feel free to explore those options as well. So in this particular window, you're going to see a list of all your existing Logic app. I'd created some, but we are going to create a new one. To create a new one, click on Add. So once you click on Add, it's going to show you a pop-up window. So it's loading. So here we need to fill a couple of information like the resource group, and let me create a new resource group over here. RG Reactor demo. Okay, the resource group name is available. I'm gonna create the instance and the consumption type. I'm gonna enter the Logic app name as Reactor email sender. I'm gonna select the region as India, anywhere in India. South India, because it's the nearest one to me. I can enable log analytics, but I'm not going to do it for this demo, but it is recommended to do so. I'm going to quickly create on review plus create, and it'll just do a validation check whether all the things are valid or not. So let's say that our name was not available. It's going to highlight it and shows that there was a validation error. But since everything is fine, let's click on create, and the create our logic app is going to get done in a couple of seconds. The deployment process has started, and once it does, what we're going to do is that we're going to create the workflow to send an email. So how this particular thing is going to work is that I'm going to build an API where I'm going to send the name as well as an email to my logic app, and this logic app will then use these two data that I send in the request body to send an email to the person whose email ID mentioned in the request body by saying hi Ashirvad, if the name is Ashirvad, or maybe hi Vivek, and do it. So there are a couple of templates with some of the common triggers which are already out there. So I'm going to use the when a HTTP request is received trigger type to start with. So this is the basic template. So you're going to get the URL after you save the workflow. Since I said that, I'm going to send something in the request body, I need to define the request body JSON schema. So the easy way to do is that you can just enter a sample JSON workload over here. So I'll be sending two things, name. So that's going to be Ashirvad. It's just a sample. It will just build on, the sample JSON scheme using, this example. But while sending the request, we also need to send the data in the request body in this particular fashion as well. So I'm going to click on, okay. So it generated the request body JSON schema from the example that we gave him. So here I'm taking two properties here, name and email from the request body. Then I'll be using it to send the email. So to send email, there are multiple connectors out there. You can use the Gmail connectors. You can use the Outlook one. So as I told you, I'm going to use the Outlook one. I'm going to search for Outlook. I'm going to search for the Outlook connector. So there are two. You can use Outlook 365 or Outlook, either or the both. I'm going to go with Outlook 365 for this one. And then I'm going to search for the action which says send an email. So I'm going to use this one, send an email. There are a lot many actions, as you can see. So here I need to authorize this logic app to send emails from on behalf of me, right? For that, I need to authenticate myself. So I'll click on sign in, and then I'll sign in. Using my account. Okay, let me quickly do it again. Just a minute. I'm going to log in using my Outlook account. I hope the demo gods are happy with me. Vivek, are you able to see the window?
No, we can only see the logic app designer.
Okay, let me do one thing. I'm going to share the whole window this time. Now?
Yeah.
Perfect. So there was an error. I'm going to sign in. Starting the whole process again. I'm going to sign in now. I'm going to use my account. Okay, this was not an Office 365 account. That's why it's not allowing me to do it. Let's use the normal Outlook one. Normal Outlook connector to use this. So it also has the similar set of actions, and we'll use the same action, that is send an email, V2, authenticate ourselves. I hope it does. Yeah, it's asking me all these permissions. I'm going to give it the permissions. I'm going to click on yes, and it's going to create a connection. So the next thing that it needs is the email of the recipient, the subject, and the body. So what we are going to do is that we are going to use the response. We are going to use the response that we get from here, from the request body, and pass it into these fields as variables. So here we have a concept called dynamic content. So let's say, every actions returns something. It returns some value. So you can use this value and pass into the next action. So you're going to get it from the dynamic content. So since the previous task was when a HTTP request is received, you're going to see a section called when a HTTP request is received, and all the things that it returns, you're going to see it over here. Now I can see that, I have name and email. So I'm going to use the email in the to section. So I'm going to enter email over there. The next thing is subject, hello there. And then I'll say, hey, I'll say the name of the person. How are you? Just normal mail. And we are gonna and then we will give back a response. Like if everything worked well, we need to say, right, as an API, we need to give back a response to our uh, customer, client, whoever has sent a request to this particular API. So I'm gonna type in response, search for that particular action, and define the code. The status code is going to be 200, and I'll just write a message called email sent successfully. And once I do it, I'm going to click on save, and I'll get the URL in this particular trigger. So this is the one. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open Postman and quickly demo it, like whether we are getting emails or not. So Vivek, do you want to try out something like sharing your inbox, whether you get the mail or not? Can we test with your email account?
My email account. I need to open everything.
Okay, no worries then. Let's wait for Postman to show up, and then we'll send a request to probably my Gmail account. So I'll just show you my Gmail account. I don't have any mails from ashirwad@outlook.com. So let's wait. Let's wait for Postman to open up, and we'll add a request and send a request to this particular API of a logic app, API endpoint of a logic app, and to see how it works. Oh my, it's taking a bit longer. Uh, uh, uh. Okay, it's coming up. Perfect. Let me quickly create one. Create a new collection. Reactor. Please. Add a request. Send email. So it's gonna be a post request. So I'm gonna copy the post URL, and we need to send two things: name and email in the request body. So go to the body, define it as raw, JSON, define it quickly, name, I'll say Ashirwad, and then I'll do the email, give my personal email address, let me quickly check it again. Perfect. So let's send a request. So it said that email sent successfully. And this is how we build our first API using Logic Apps in a couple of minutes. So let's see whether we got a mail or not. Let's refresh it. We got the mail. I sent the name as Ashirwad. You got the name. It's sent to my Gmail address, how I expected it to be. So this is one. So this is so the demo girls are happy with me, and our first demo went well. I'm pretty happy. So let's you can also see the number of times your logic app ran in the overview section by clicking on refresh and having a look at the run history. So here our logic app ran only once, and it ran for 1.51 seconds, and the status was succeeded. If it failed, you can see the fail. You can also click over here to see the overall results of each of the actions, like what was sent in the request body. Like here you can see what we got in the request body, Ashirvad, and the mail and the name, then what went into the email action, how it was there. So all these things you can see. And finally, what response did we give? So you can do all sort of things. If something went wrong, you can always come here and have a look how, what went wrong, and probably what you can do better to make your workflow run successfully. So now that we have completed the first demo on triggers and actions, let's have a look at the problem statement that we wanted to solve today. So I'll just read it out. So let's say that we consider a scenario where we are all a community organizer for a particular developer community. Let's say we are doing it for Reactor, Microsoft Reactor Mangaluru, and we host multiple events throughout the years. Like Vivek does a lot. So at the end of the event, there are a lot of post-event work that an organizer has to handle, which are mundane and tedious tasks. So these things can be like sending thank you mails to all the speakers, or maybe to all the attendees for attending the session, or to send emails to get their feedback, or ask them to fill in their feedbacks in a particular form or link. These are some of the tasks. So one of them is being to send emails to all the winners along with the coupon code and instructions to redeem the same. Currently, there are currently in the industry, I don't feel that there is a specific solution which caters to this particular need. Let's say that I'm organizing a raffle at the end of the stock. That whoever guess all the answers right, I'm going to give them a copy of my book. So if I wanted to do that, I need to get all the list of the thing, which I can get from a form. Like let's say I organize a quiz using Microsoft Forms, or maybe Google Form, or maybe Kahoot. I can get the result. But how do I send? Let's say that I'm giving away 10 copies of my book. I need to send 10 emails to all these people, right? So that's going to be a tricky situation, and it's going to be time consuming. It's also a tedious task to do. So what if we can build a workflow using Logic App to solve this particular problem, to address this particular problem? So this is what we are going to solve today. So we are going to build a simple coupon service, as Vivek mentioned previously, to solve this particular problem, or to address this problem. So as I previously told, we are going to build upon the learnings that we gained from the previous demo, and create a new Logic App to do it. So let's go back to home, click search for Logic App, or maybe you can click the Logic App over here. You'll get the list of all the frequently used services in this window. So since I used Logic App recently, I can see it over there. So click on Add, create a new Logic App. There are a couple of things that we would have to do. So I'm going to use the same resource group. Consumption again. I can use standard, but I'm not using it because I want to go with the serverless one. So let's say that, coupon, or maybe Logic App Reactor. Do we have anything? Logic App Reactor. No log analytics again. Uh, South India. Sorry. So the region is South India. Everything looks perfect. Let's click on Review plus Create. It's going to do a validation check. Everything looks perfect. Let's click on Create and quickly create the Logic App instance. Then we'll go to the Logic App designer of this particular instance and build our workflow to solve our problem. Click on Go to Resource, go to the Logic App Reactor instance. By default, you'll jump into the Logic App Designer, but if you don't, let's say that you want to go manually over there, you'll see a screen something similar to this. So you can always go to the Logic App Designer over here and get started. So again, the thing is, what I wanted to do over here is that I want to build an API. I'll just give you an overview what the solution is look like. So the flow would be call an API with call an API. Okay, send a request. Okay, I'll just write it. Send and request to an API with all the details of the winners. So what are the details? So details are the name of the winner, the email ID of the winner, and the coupon code that they need. Okay, so these are the things. So we can always, make it more extensible by adding a couple more things. Let's say that you want to send an attachment. Like normally JetBrains, when they offer you sponsorship, they give you these images or PDFs which you can share with your what do we say organize a raffle and give it to some of the winners or maybe some of the attendees, which has the license code and all the links where they need to go and renew it, right? So that's one way, but here I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm just going to send the coupon code, the name, the email ID, and probably you can also send a link. Let's say that I'm also going to send a link. Oh, why to leave it? But this link is not working, so please don't complain if you try to go over there. Let's say that the link is abc.com/renewal. So probably this is the page where you'll get all the information about the renewal process. So I want to send all this information. So I can hardcode this one or maybe put it in a configuration, but I feel that I can send the address. So the address as well, the address also goes in the request. So the next thing that I need to do is that I need a workflow. I need my logic app to iterate through all these details or all these records and send emails to all. So these are basically the two tasks that I need to do. One is to the first task is I need to send a request for an API. So this API is going to set all this information, and next it's going to use this information to send emails to all of them, all the winners. Okay, so these are basically the things that we need to do. So to build an API, we are going to use the when a HTTP request is received trigger. I'm going to click on it using the templates. So as I told you previously, once we click on save, we are going to get the post URL. So I told you that I need a set of information over here. One is the name, the email ID, the coupon, the address. Okay, these are four things. And there can be multiple winners, multiple refer winners for an event. So we need what do we say? We need to send multiple emails at some time as well. So what I'm going to do is that my sample JSON would look something like this. It's gonna look like data. Let me just make it a bit bigger so that you can see it. It's gonna look something like this. It's gonna be of a string type. Then again, here I'll have an email. This is the recipient's email. Then I'll have one more that is gonna be the coupon code. And the final thing is the address, or maybe the link. Let's say it as a link to renew it. So this is going to be the sample. I'm going to copy it. I just put it in the notepad so that we can reuse it later. So this is going to be the one. So it's going to create a JSON schema. So we have an object called data, which is an array of further objects, which has certain set of informations like name, email, coupon, and link. All of them are of string type. You can also make it integer. I'll show you maybe in a later session how to do that. So now that we are going to receive an array of objects from this particular particular trigger. When a HTTP request is received, we need to iterate through it. So before doing that, since I'm gonna get a JSON result from it, I'm gonna parse it. So to parse it, I need to search for parse JSON, which is an action available in Logic app. So this helps me, visualize all the data that are coming in the JSON response properly and gives us a token kind of a thing. So here I'm going to put in data. So do I need to give it the schema here? Yes, I do. So I'm going to just put in over here and go to the next step. So here I want to iterate through all of it. So we can directly, go for each activity and iterate it. But I want to show you something more, like how do you define variables and assign values to them in a logic app. So I'm gonna show it to you here. Search for variable. Let's say that I want to declare a variable or initialize a variable. So initialize a variable. So the first variable name would be name. This is the name, and the type is going to be string. Right now I don't want to initialize it. I'm going to rename this action. You can always rename this action by clicking on this three dots over here and click on rename. You can do that. So I'm going to rename it and initialize name of the winner. The next thing that I need to do is, again, I'm going to initialize another variable called actually I don't need to do this, but I'm just showing it to you so that you can know that how we can initialize variable and then assign values to them in logic apps. So I'll just quickly go through it. I'm going to name it as email, and then the type is string. The next one is going to be address. Oh, this is going to be coupon. Again, it's going to be of type string. New step. This is going to be the address, the final one. So after this, we are going to go into the meaty part of things and quickly iterate through all of these variables and assign the values to these variables that we have defined over here. Oh, I click on initialize variable, so I need to remove this one and create a new initialize. This is going to be address or link. Let's keep it as link. This is going to be a string. So you can always, come back and change the type, whichever you defined here. The next thing is we need a control action that is for each. So we're going to iterate through all of these values that are there in our JSON action. So click on controls. The controls connector has other actions which let us do all sort of operations with our data in the workflow. So in the for each, I'm going to give the data that is written from the parse JSON one. I'm going to add an action that it needs to do. The first thing that it needs to do is that it needs to define the value of the variable. So it's going to set the variable value. So the name is, here you can see we have all these names. The first is name. I need to assign it a value. So you can get the value of this from the parse JSON or else from the for each activity. Okay. So there are different ways you can do it. So here I'm going to put the value from the parse JSON one. That's going to be name. The next is I'm going to again set the variable of email now. I'll quickly do it. Email is email. The next one is variable link. Okay, coupon. And then we are going to define the variable. The final one, that's going to be link. So once we have defined all the variables, we can quickly get started on writing the logic for the sending an email. So as we previously saw, we are going to use the Outlook connector send email action to send emails. We are going to leverage that learning that we had from the previous demo, and we're going to use the same over here. I'm going to assign the values variable here. That's going to be the email. This is the sender's email. The next thing that I need to do is that congrats. I'm going to put in the name of the person, congrats on winning the raffle. I'll say congrats again, congrats on winning the voucher. The or probably the coupon. your code is. So I'm gonna give in the code that is stored in the coupon variable. Please check the process to redeem at this particular link. So you can phrase it well, and then you can just write thanks, let's say Ashirwad, something. You can do right. You can add your signature, do all sort of things. So now we have done all the logic. We have initialized all our variables. We'll process. We have defined all the actions that we need to do to complete this task. We have done everything. So now what we need to do is that we need to copy this link. We need to go to Postman again, create a new request. It's again going to be a post. Put in the variable over there. So the next thing is I need to go to the body. I need to it's raw JSON. I'll copy the value again. Put it there. Vivek, would you like to have a coupon? Vivek, you there?
If it is, if yeah, if it is valid.
uh, that depends on your luck.
I mean, if it is a good coupon, yeah, it is a good one to have.
Let's
Maybe for
do.
your book, if you can send the coupon for us, probably.
I'll definitely get one for you after the talk.
Yeah,
Okay. So, okay, can you quickly send in your email? I'll just find it quickly. Just give me a minute. I'm sending one to your email address as well. Okay,
yeah.
so that everybody gains the trust that we are getting. The demo is working well.
You
So,
can ask the audience. Anybody wants the coupon?
hey, anybody wants to get a coupon? Drop in your email address at the chat window, and I'm gonna send you one. Did we get any response? I think everybody
No,
slept by now.
no. Basically, everybody knows it's a fake coupon.
So there's no
So,
excitement.
no excitement.
I'm just adding one more value here. We didn't say hi. The winner can get offended. So let's just say hi. Just for formality, click on save again. So if you make any changes, don't forget to click on save, and it's gonna just work. You can manually start your workflow as well by clicking on run trigger, but I'm not gonna do it because my logic app is expecting some values that I'm gonna send in the request body, and here I'm sending it. Here I'm gonna send it to it. So I'm gonna send it to him and wait. Okay, I didn't give back a proper response. So it gave me a generic result that is 202 accepted. But let's say that I wanted to give a 200 okay response back to my customer if all the mails went okay. So right now, if I go and check my email, my mailbox, I must get a mail. I didn't. Oh, that's surprising. Better go to my spam. Let's quickly go and check. Oh, it failed. Why it failed? Let's see. Let's debug it a bit. Okay, it failed in this particular phase itself. The validation schema failed. Let's understand why. Invalid type object but got array. Expected object but got array. Mhm. Okay, what happened over here is that it is my logic was basically expecting just the data side of things, but what I did was that I sent him a whole array. That's why I got an error. So what I'm going to do now is that let's try to solve it. Vivek, do we have some time? Probably we can debug a bit more and try to solve it, or what do you feel?
We are 10 minutes over time. By the way.
Okay. In this particular scenario, then I have something a backup ready for me, which I always tend to fall back on. But yeah, basically what it was expecting was an array, but I said that you're gonna just get an object. That's why there were some ambiguity between the expectations. That's why we got an error. But nevertheless, I have one ready for you, for all of you. So the one is GST Logic App 007. I'll just show it to you. The flow is not very different. It's almost the same. But here what I'm doing is that I'm just taking two values where one is the name and the email. I'm not giving the coupon here. So probably what I'll do is that I'll just take a coupon as well. Let me quickly check whether I'm taking coupon or not. Am I taking coupon? Yes, I'm taking
Yeah,
coupon. Perfect. Perfect. I'm taking coupon. Probably I got the fix actually. So let's quickly do it. Passing the body over here, and let's see. Instead of passing the body, I gave the data. That's why the issue was there. Nevertheless, let's try again. Let's click on send, and probably this time the logic app would Hmm. Let's wait a bit. It failed again. Or it succeeded, but I didn't get the mails. That's surprising. Or it's taking some more time to send it. Let's see the values. Ashirwad. Okay. Shasapati. Everything seems to be well.
maybe it is
Assignment is,
taking time to send.
yeah, that's probably is the scenario. So you can also embed your HTML messages over here. So if you wanted to send in HTML message by doing all sort of this formatting and styling stuff, you can always do that. So here you'll get all this response. So if you're iterating through a set of data, what you can do is that you can see what all values are going in. You can see what all steps happened and what were the values, and whether you got it or not. So this is how the whole demo is. This is the functioning demo. Let's try to click on refresh again and see whether we get it or not. Vivek, can you check in your mail as well? Did you get one?
I got it. I got it.
Perfect. So we
I
are
got your coupon. A B B C C D D.
probably
And
my one got into
Amazon.
my spam, I guess. Okay, so
Okay.
whatever mails we are sending from the Outlook one, if you quickly check in your Outlook account, it will be there in the send window, send section of your Outlook account. So don't worry if if your Logic app turns, sends some mails without your permissions, you can always go and check there and remove all the permissions from the Logic app, or else you can manually go over the resource group where the Logic app is and delete the connection that it has created. So for me, it's in that okay, this is my logic app, right? So I'll just quickly go to the resource group where it is. Here there is a connection for which is helping it connect with the Outlook one. So I can just click on it and click on delete. Where is delete? So you can delete this one. So now your Outlook action would not work when your logic app is trying to do it. So this is basically the thing. Okay, so that's all for the demo. That's how we build the whole thing. So we solved it. Any questions? I'm open to having them. Do we have
Let's
any
wait for
questions,
a
Vivek?
minute. If no, I think this is amazing because you didn't write a single code. So
Absolutely.
all you did was just playing around with certain boxes, and you added couple of connectors to it, and that's it. And you're able to write this email, write this completely in email, and started sending mails to people, right? So that's the good part of it. Like you just got an API running for yourself, right? So
Right.
that's the power of no code and low code platform, right? So where
Even
all
you,
you do is just play around with the UI, and it's as simple as it is, right?
so
So
here I was
anyone can do
manually
it.
Yes, Vivek. Sorry to interrupt you in between.
Yeah.
So here we were sending manual requests. I was assuming everybody was a developer, but let's say that you have a database, or probably you have a JSON file here. You upload it in a blob, and let's say that you want to start a workflow, which will just pick up the file and read all the JSON messages from there and iterate through them, and send an email. You can also do that with the when a blob is created or uploaded trigger of the Azure Blob Storage connector and do it. If you wanted to do something else, let's say you send a message to the service bus queue and you wanted it to process it, you can also do it. So there are different ways of doing it, but as developers, I thought building an API in a low code way would be something that we all can relate to, because every developer is making one or the other these days. So I see there's a question from Lakshmi Narayan. Is it possible to set retry attempts? So can you be more specific, or on what side of thing are you defining the retry attempts? Like for some time when your action is not working, probably we have some retry logics that we can try, but it again depends on the actions and the connectors that you are using. So yeah, and there's one more thing. So our action failed, and typically you expect something like a bad request or maybe a server error or something. So we can also customize that. Like in the first demo in which I showed you how to send an email using the bare metal thing, how to send an email using Logic app, there I told you that we can send a custom response. I was sending 200, but when I didn't add that response at all in my workflow, I was getting 202. So you can also customize it. So there are various ways of doing things. Okay,
So
Lakshmi
he
is saying that,
clarifies. Yeah.
yeah, let's say the email sending fails for a particular email. Can it be done after a specific period of time? No, the action is done. See, at the first slide, at the second slide, I told you that we are only paying for the action that is being done. So if you want to do these sort of things, what you can do is that you can have a try catch thing. You can enable a try catch activity inside of which you can iterate through the whole thing. And let's say that something failed, you can send that all the details, all the JSON data of this particular request that failed, or for particular record which failed, you can send it to a message service bus queue or maybe an Azure queue. Then have another workflow which handles all the failed requests. So it does all the retry attempts. So you can do these kind of things, but inside a single workflow, you cannot do the whole retry thing for emails at least. That's what I know.
Perfect. So, I mean, by the way, I mean, if everything is available on the Cloud Skill Challenge, so I've just made sure that all of this learning is there, so that you can go back and learn a couple of things. And yeah, I think great sessions we had. Initially, Dinesh's session was to understand the Power App and how to build it on the canvas and how to get it,
Vivek,
get the Power
there's
effects
an
to run.
interesting fact. There's an interesting fact. Power Automate and Logic App use the same runtime. That's what I think is, and you'll see the way we use connectors and actions over here are pretty similar how they are done in Power
Oh, they
Apps.
are doing
So
Power Apps.
yeah, so if you're
Yes.
comfortable with this, you get acquainted with that. If you're doing that, you are also good with this. So yeah,
Yep.
that's
And
a good
it
part.
was an interesting demo, right? It's easy to write functions there and get your app ready for Android and anything. And Vivek's demo of doing AI in terms of just through click of some buttons and building a complete sentimental analysis app was pretty amazing. And with Azure Automate as well, which was demo was amazing, and your demo, which is again to build through Logic App and how you build a simple email deployment. I remember those days where we didn't had this kind of flexibility, where we used to write lines of code to send emails, right? So so we have done that before, so this solves the problem. Perfect. So yeah, I think the Reactor days was good and hope everybody enjoyed it. We have a survey form as well. We have shared it in the chat. Do provide us the feedback of these sessions. And thanks for tuning in. It's Friday night. Have a nice weekend. Have fun. And thanks, Ashubad, as well for this amazing session. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Rashmita. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. Um, Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.